You got to get clear. In the next 3 months, how much do you want to make?
Today is probably the most tactical blueprint on making your first dollars and completely changing the way you interact with money. And it's with my friend Lewis Howes. He is a multiple-time New York Times bestselling author. He runs one of the biggest podcasts in the world called School of Greatness.
We all have a money story. Money doesn't heal who you are, it reveals who you are. And until you learn to heal, then it's just going to reveal.
It is therapy, but it's a different type.
It is. Most people have an emotional reaction with money.
47% of Americans die broke? And why?
You got to heal your money wounds. People may not want to hear this.
Hi, I'm Codie Sanchez, and this is the Big Deal podcast. I have struggled with this question for the better part of a decade. What do I tell people who don't have money, who have a bad relationship with money, who don't know how to go further with money? But I think today, for the first time ever, I just heard how to make money even when you have $0 and how to start exactly where you are with what you've got. I was shocked when I started learning about this book because I think most humans will not be able to make money, not because they don't have the tactics, but because you don't actually know how you feel about money, and thus money doesn't know how it feels about you. So if today you feel like you need more money in your life, you should absolutely listen to this episode. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, be prepared to pause it and take some notes, because this is going to be an episode you are going to want to listen to multiple times. I remember when I first met you, you immediately, I barely knew you, and you were like, hey, what do you need? How's that going?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do that. Don't talk to that person, actually do this instead. So, like, do you think that half of your success is actually due from just you being this connector and giver?
Yeah.
Is that the secret sauce?
Trying to help other people achieve their goals and dreams. That's what I've kind of done since the beginning. And that's one of my gifts or talents. And so I try to lean into that and be a generous giver of my talent. Some people might have a lot of money. That's their talent. Okay, how can I give more of that thing? And that's just my gift. And I think there's 4 different ways of living life with or without money. And the first way, and I've lived all 4 of these. And the first way is what none of us want to live, which is being broke financially and broke emotionally. When I was 24, 25 on my sister's couch, I had no money, 3 credit cards I was living off of, student loan debt, and I wasn't generating any money. So I was financially broken and kind of like spiritually, emotionally broken as well, because my dream had been crushed from getting injured as an athlete. My identity was gone. I was living on my sister's couch. I was like, I'm a grown man acting like a child, getting, taken care of by my sister.
You're too big for a couch, too.
Exactly. It was just like I was broken financially and emotionally, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. So I had no clear game plan. So it was just kind of wallowing in depression, victimhood, why me? No one wants to live that way. That's the first level. The second level is being financially broke still, but starting to feel more emotionally, spiritually abundant, free, excited. And I started to shift after about a year into thinking, okay, I need to get out of this rut. Let me find some coaches, some mentors. Let me start learning. Let me start overcoming fears. Let me start developing skills. And when I started getting momentum around that, it's like something unlocked inside of me where I had this passion, this drive, this excitement, this like, I can take on anything, this kind of fearlessness. And so I was starting to feel more rich inside, even though it wasn't paying off externally in the bank account yet. But eventually that momentum started to build into creating financial freedom. After a few years more after this, I remember I made my first $1 million. And it was like, wow, all this excitement, this hustle, this grind, like I was willing to work all day and night and do whatever it took and help as many people as possible. Say yes to every opportunity. I started generating money. And I was like, okay, now I'm making it. But a few years later, I was obsessive about making more and more. I was like, how do I grow? Every year's got to be bigger. Let's 10x every year. And there was a point after a few years where I lost the internal richness and I started to get more afraid, fearful. I started to feel like everyone was now trying to take advantage of me as opposed to we are working together. People were coming out of the woodwork from middle school who saw I had money and now asking me for money. So it didn't feel good after a while. And it didn't make me feel, it didn't solve all my emotional problems having money. So it was almost like a more challenging thing for me because I had this money. I thought it would make me happier, and it actually wasn't solving my emotional problems. So I felt more emotionally bankrupt, even though I had money financially. And that's a big challenge because you think, okay, let me go make more, build more, become bigger, better. And it's still not filling me up emotionally. That's a scary place to be. And so this is the third level. And I was living in LA here, I don't know, 5 miles away in an apartment building during 2000, 2001, a really nice apartment building where there were a lot of billionaires, millionaires, celebrities, athletes, all that stuff. And I was driving back one day from a road trip, and there was a white tent in the parking lot in the valet. And I said to the valet attendant, I was like, someone didn't jump, did they? Kind of just joking. And he said, yes, someone just jumped like an hour ago and committed suicide from the building I was living in with all these billionaires and millionaires. And I was like, how could someone jump in this building? This is like the nicest building in LA. And I later found out who that person was, who was worth $500 million. A big movie producer and executive. But for whatever reason, he wasn't feeling rich emotionally. He had all the money in the world, but something was off internally that caused him to not love himself, not accept where he was at in his life. And that, separation of having so much externally, but feeling broken internally can cause a lot of pain for people. Having money can solve money problems, but it can't solve self-worth problems necessarily.
Yep.
You can be a net worth millionaire, but be bankrupt, and not be a self-worth millionaire. And the goal is to go from level 0, level 1 to level 4, which is becoming financially free and also becoming emotionally free, spiritually free, rich abundantly internally, feeling peace. And most people are stressed with money right now. They're uncertain with the economy. They don't know where their money's coming from next month, if they're going to have a job or not, if their business is going to collapse or not. They don't understand. There's so much fear and anxiety. And so they're crippled by the fear internally. And when we can set ourselves free emotionally around money in general, we're going to be money's not going to have power over us. Whether we're making more or making less, we're still going to feel good with us. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole reason I wanted to write this book.
So true, because increasingly I think peace is the new rich, and everyone has everything besides peace.
Yeah.
If you think about it in the U.S., there are certainly those of us who are still struggling with hunger, certainly those of us that are still in a place where we have massive scarcity. But like people dying of pure starvation in the U.S., not that common.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot, and yet we feel more anxious and like we have less than ever. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought you could just fix it by all of us making more money.
Exactly.
That was my tactic.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just go. Let's teach more people how to make more money.
You can solve money problems.
You can, but you realize very quickly that, the guy at the top is oftentimes just as unhappy, or maybe more so, because he thought on the way up that he was chasing happiness.
Exactly. And I think we talked about this before. It's like, this is not like a judgment or anything here, but it's when is enough enough? And we can only strive for more and play the game of, I'm going to make $10 million, $100 million, $1 billion, cool, whatever. It's fun. But is it doing it because I don't feel enough?
Yeah.
Or because I don't feel peaceful and I need to make more? Or is it doing it because this is what I love and I want to make a big impact on the world, but I feel good with me whether I make it or I don't? And I think it's getting to that place of being driven by a vision so big or so exciting for you, but not because you need to validate your self-worth.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I think the love of the game is why a lot of us continue to do it, but it's brutal. I mean, what would you say to like a young man out there listening to this right now who kind of feels a little lost, destitute, not making money, maybe not even meeting other people, not in a relationship and married like you newly are, and isn't sure where to go next to get even to from level 1 to level 2, just to start making money? Like, what are the changes you made to do that? And what would a young, broke dude who got a chance to talk to Lewis, what would you tell him?
I'd probably say 3 things. The first 3 things that came to mind, I would get a physical practice first, like really master your body, because if you're not feeling confident within yourself, you haven't mastered a routine of rigor or discipline or consistency around some type of working out. And when you master your physical health, or at least you're on a journey of mastering it, doesn't mean you have to have a six pack or be shredded or anything like that. But if you have a consistent program with that, 30 to 60 minutes a day, you're going to feel more empowered because you're taking back responsibility of your own agency. Second thing I would say is find a spiritual mentor. When you're lost, you need a spiritual guide in your life. And if you aren't able to tap directly to God or your belief system of why I'm here, then lean on someone you admire. Find someone you admire. I don't care if it's a sports coach, a business leader who follows practices you admire, or a pastor or something like that. Find someone that you admire who is living a life of high values and integrity. Because ultimately, you want to be living that life. You don't want to be living out of integrity because it may be fun for a while, but you'll always hurt people along the way and ultimately hurt yourself along the way.
By the way, if you're building a business right now and you're stuck or you want to break out to the next level, maybe you're not where you want to be today. Believe me, I've been there many, many times. I want you to know I got you. We help thousands of business owners a year figure out how to scale to the next level. One of my favorite mentors said, every level you have, there's just a higher level and a higher devil. And so if you've been in business for a while and you're doing 6, 7, or 8 figures, there's probably one thing standing in the way of your next level. That's why we host growth and scale workshops 4 times a year throughout the year in Austin, in Miami, in San Diego, and you may be a fit to come to one of them. If it sounds interesting to you to get help on how to scale your business to the next level, you can reach out to my team at the link in the show notes. We believe in you builders, but we also believe that it's a lonely road and you can't do it by yourself.
And then the third thing I would say is to really study and learn about money and make money feel relaxing to you. Most people stress out about it. I stressed about it so much because I didn't understand it. And there's still levels that I don't understand today. It's not like I'm a money expert. I'm not an investing expert or budgeting expert. I've learned how to master these things, but it's more about learning how to have conversations around money where it's fun and you're not fearful around it. Because when you're fearful around something, that thing has power over you. Yep. It triggers you emotionally in your nervous system, and you're afraid to even just tell people your money situation. Most people talk about their sexual intimacy more than they'll talk about their money situation. And if you're willing to have conversations around money and just be more flexible and flowing around these conversations, make it more common, you're going to allow the flow for money to come to you. When we are in fear around something, why would we want that thing to come to us? If we're psychologically, emotionally afraid of it because we don't understand it, we're ultimately going to push it away. We're ultimately going to block the flow of abundance financially to us when we are in fear of that thing. It's an energy flow, and you have to be willing to receive money and be ready and prepared to receive more.
It's actually fascinating. I've never thought about that before, that people are more willing to talk about their sexual intimacy than money.
Yes.
It's actually really true. Some people are willing to talk about money, but only once you have a ton of it at the top. Mm-hmm. And then
people say they don't even reveal what their money or how much they spend.
True. It's like somewhere in the mid, there's some like amount of bravado, about, and then you like hit the real money amount. And you're like, oh, whoops, that's not cool anymore. I shouldn't talk about it. But that's fascinating. Like you've got, more power to however you want to talk about your sexual intimacy, but you've got entire podcasts like Call Her Daddy or whatever. It's really a lot about sex. And there's nobody coming on here talking about money except almost in a shame-based way. Like I like Caleb Hammer, but being like, this was dumb, this was dumb, this is dumb, this is dumb. As opposed to any sort of vulnerability around it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I just think making it more of a common practice around, hey, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm trying to get to, and being open to having the conversations where it flows more easily.
And is it more like what would that look like in practice? Like Jesse Itzler, for instance, I remember him saying that he would go to the Beverly Wilshire and he would sit in the lunchroom and he would order like the cheapest thing that was on the menu. And the reason he would do it is because it would allow him to sit around all these really rich people. And then he would ask them, like, he would be like, hey, I don't have a lot of money yet. Yep. I'm on my way up. How did you get here? Like, What do you do for a living? And he credits that with his creation of NetJets.
100%. Yeah. And it's just having proximity to those conversations. And I think having them more frequently, even with the people in your life, even if people don't have money, just say, hey, let's talk about this. What are we working on today? What What are you struggling with? How much money do you have in debt? Like just talking about it, making it more commonplace. Because the more comfortable you are talking about something, I think the easier it is to go create that thing.
And I really like it because there's a lot of books today talking to us about why money's not important. You don't need money. Money doesn't matter. And I think that happens a lot during recessionary periods. Those books do really, really well. Why? Because you already don't have it. So if somebody can validate that you don't need it, you're like, that sounds good. I'm on board. Also, rich people suck, But,
exactly.
But if you can write a book that is instead like, hey, you're not net worthed by your net worth.
Yeah.
That's not your self-worth. But you can be okay pursuing it, I think is really, really powerful.
100%. I think if you want to pursue more money, like pursue as much money as you want. It's where is that pursuit coming from? Is it from a need to prove people wrong? Is it coming from a need because you want to validate yourself that you're worthy or you're better than? You're always going to be creating from a sense of scarcity rather than abundance. And when you create from abundance, a emotionally rich place, money can come and go and it's not as stressful. Yeah. There was a company about a year and a half ago. It was so funny because as I was doing the research for this book and I was writing this book, I hadn't finished it yet. And I was like, I'm still not ready to like finish this book. And for whatever reason, around this time, there was a company that essentially took $1 million from me and that didn't pay me. It was meant to pay me and it didn't pay me. And for weeks, I was like, when are they going to pay? What's going on? It feels like they were stealing from me, right? And I was kind of a mess. I was like, it's $1 million. It's not a small thing. And I felt more taken advantage of. It was more the act of abuse and taking advantage of. And I have stories of feeling taken advantage of as a kid and feeling abused, from sexual abuse to people stealing money from as a kid, all these different things, picked on. And I go, this is perfect timing, actually. After like 2 months of stressing about this, I was like, this is all happening for me because this situation triggered a wound inside of me of abuse, of being taken advantage of a not fairness, right? And it's the exact lesson I still haven't graduated yet. And so after 3 months of this, I finally was like, you know what? They may not pay. It doesn't mean I have to love it, but I get to learn that I'm not tied down by what this company does or doesn't do, that I have an abundant sense inside of me. I can go create this money as well. It doesn't mean I have to like this and be like, yay, this was fun. But right now, this has power over me. It's consuming me. Yeah. And I'm living in scarcity. That scarcity is holding me back from being creative, resourceful, and making better decisions. And so once I started doing some healing work around that, I released it and let it go, and I stopped worrying about it. They eventually paid me. And I was like, okay, great. But now this is a lesson, knowing that when I'm in scarcity or living in fear around something or frustration around something, it's not going to feel good. I'm not feeling abundant when I do this. Mm-hmm. So how can I shift the energy? It doesn't mean I still have to handle it and take action and do certain things, but how can I shift my energy to know I'm going to be resourceful in other ways and I'm going to be okay, whether this money comes or they take it from me. And I think that's been a big lesson for me, is learning how to feel peaceful no matter what. It doesn't mean there's not going to be challenge or adversity, but how can I not let something rob me of my peace?
Hard, but really important.
And again, I keep going back to these millionaires and billionaires who are just overly stressed, overly worked, that are on drugs, suicidal, or committing suicide. What's the point of having all the money if you don't love yourself, if you don't have peace? What's the point then? It's just, it doesn't feel like a rich life to me.
Yeah. It's interesting because the hard part, I think, is what is the healing practice to that, right? And in my case, I know when I have something that happens that I don't like. One thing happened this morning. It was literally like, you know what my panic words are, Louis? If you ever text me, hey, we need to talk, instant panic. I don't know I don't know who texted me that originally and something terrible happened.
It triggered some wound.
I just have I go, oh my God, they're leaving me. We're bankrupt. I don't know. Worst case scenario immediately. Oh, every time. And the only way that I've found to get around that at like my level, not at the level I want to be at, is most people kind of hide from tough conversations. And I usually, when I get those, say, hey, Like,
let's lean in.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, pick up the phone. Let's have a conversation. What do you want to talk about? Or if somebody's like, can we talk, but later today or next week? No, let's do it right now. If you're important enough to like mention the talk, we probably should have the talk. So that kind of helps because usually it's never as bad as you think it is.
Yes.
And so you can clear it out. But what else do you do to get past this scarcity mindset? What are your practices?
You got to heal your money wounds. And it may sound a little woo-woo, it may sound a little weird, and people may not want to hear this. But we all have a money story.
Yep.
Based on how we grew up, whether it be our parents teaching us a certain way, either literally speaking a certain way or their energy. My parents fought all the time. It's my memory. I know it wasn't every day, but it felt like frequently. And when they weren't fighting, they weren't showing each other love. The only time they'd show each other love is after a fight, they'd kind of like hug or kiss barely and like try to mend it. But then it was just like a cycle my whole life. And a lot of this was around not having enough money, stresses around money. So I, in my nervous system, didn't feel emotionally safe with money conversations. So I have these money wounds based on a money story. I also got into a season for about 1.5 years where I would steal at grocery stores, like candy bars and stuff when I was like 10, 11. I had kids steal from me. And there's just kind of all these money wounds, these money memories that creates a money story inside of my mind and also my nervous system. You have money story. Your husband has his unique money story. And that creates our money style. How we spend, how we save, how we think about money, how we talk about money. It creates a money personality style that we are today. And until we heal our money wounds and take ourselves to money therapy, which sounds kind of weird, and mend those wounds, we'll continue to live in a certain personality style and create a strategy around money based on that energetic nervous system response. And that's going to create money, a career, a business from that energy until we shift it and heal it. And it doesn't mean it's good or bad, right or wrong. It just means that's how your personality style is. I know people that never look at their bank account. They just spend based on their money story and their style. I know other people that look obsessively daily and they save every penny because they're worried for whatever reason based on their money story and style. And here's an example I like to give people, and we'll do this with you. Imagine, Cody, that there was money was a person. Okay. The idea of money, the representation of all the money in the world was in one person. And that person walked through the door right now and stood right here. What would your initial thought, feeling, or response be if money walked in and stood right in front of you?
Be stoked.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm picturing Elon Musk because I think most of the money does live there. Yeah. I think I'd be like, sweet. I get to like, what's the deal? I want to know what's going on over there.
Okay. Cool.
I think that's my reaction.
You'd be excited. You'd be stoked. You'd be curious.
Yeah.
You'd be open-minded, right?
Yeah.
I've asked this to so many different people. I asked this on Mark Manson's podcast. And you know Mark Manson?
Yeah, I love Mark.
Yeah. And I go, money walks in the door. What's your first response? He goes, that guy's a douchebag. I was like, really? I go, tell me why. That's his initial response based on his whole life history and his money story. And this guy's a multi-millionaire and makes tons of money with his books and show and everything. But he goes, yeah, he's kind of a stuck-up douchebag. And I don't know if I'd really want him here. And I go, okay, just notice your response. I asked someone in their late 20s, you're at a restaurant, money walks in the door. What do you do? And they said, I would get out of my seat and go to the bar and hide. Then I would start gossiping about money behind its back like it's in the room. Then if it came up to me, I would act like I was its friend. Then I would use and abuse it when I needed money, and I would ghost it if it ever reached out to me. And I was like, that's a very descriptive response and seems very unhealthy. And they were like, yeah, it is. And that's how it shows up in their life, based on their money story and based on their money personality style. That's how money shows up for them. And it doesn't make it right or wrong, good or bad, but is that relationship with money supporting you? With you, it sounds like, man, I'd be stoked if money walked in right here. I'd be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Let's be friends. That's what it sounds like for you.
Yeah.
You'd be more like free, flowing, open. You know, I talked to someone else and they said, if money walked in the room, I'd give it a big hug and say, come, sit down, let's chat. It's just like, it doesn't make it good or bad, right or wrong. It's just, Is your relationship supporting you in your daily actions around money, in your career, in your business, how you make decisions based on your relationship with it? And when people can start to reflect, I give a ton of exercises in the book on reflecting on your money story to see why you have this money personality style now and to see what your personal relationship with money is, just to assess and see, is this serving me in my life? Is it bringing me more joy or more pain? Yeah. And that's it. This is not about how to be a mega millionaire or billionaire, because that's the key to life. Yeah. This is about, can you live a rich, abundant life inside of you? When you do, it really doesn't matter how much money you do or don't have. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million or 20 million. It's like you feel good with you no matter what externally is happening. Then the money is just an additional bonus. It's like, wow, I can do cool things with this. I can help more people. I can give more. I can buy a home. I can do stuff. But you're not living your life based on external validation. It's about internal feelings.
I love doing stuff. I think actually, you know what would be really cool? I would be so curious what would happen, Louis, if you're listening right now. I want you to play a little game with us, and we'll see if anybody will do it.
Yeah.
I want you to tag us in an Instagram story where you describe what your money style is and what your money story is live. Like, I want to know what the story, and just tag Louis and I. Mm-hmm. I'm so curious to hear what people's immediate reaction is when they see money walk in the door.
That's it. Yeah. And your money story and your money style equals your strategy, how you show up with money in your life today.
Okay, wait. So I want to back up. So first you've got your money story, which is like, if money walked in the door, how would you react?
Well, your money story is more of like all of the memories and wounds that you have around money. It could be good things. It could be negative things that you remember growing up. That is like, when I grew up, my dad and mom said, like, money doesn't grow on trees. And they were stingy and they didn't give me an allowance. And I had to work hard for my money. And it was all about hard work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or it could have been like, man, my parents taught me that money comes freely to me when you add value.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to just be a value-driven individual. And I learned that money flows abundantly and it doesn't like consume me. You know, whatever your personality or your story is around money.
And you write down.
You write those down. What are those memories? What are those memories that you can think of? What are the painful ones, the good ones? Mix it all together. That's your story. Write those down. Then think about your money personality style. How do you spend money? How do you save money? Do you invest your money, or do you just put it in a savings account? Do you not know what your money is because you got so much debt that you're afraid and ashamed to look at it? You know, a lot of people are just like, when I had credit card debt, I didn't want to look at it. Yeah. So I was like ashamed of it. I was like, I just want this to go away. And so I had to really start taking a look at things differently and say, oh, why am I avoiding money? Why am I avoidant of this? I was afraid of it. So I was strategically doing things in life based on my style and my story. And this whole, if money was a person and it walked in the room, that's more just to see what your relationship with money is. If it was a person, because I believe money is it's an intimate emotional thing. Most people have an emotional reaction with money. And emotions come from human beings. And so if you have an emotional reaction to something, imagine if it was a person. When you receive money, are you grateful and appreciative of the money you receive? Or are you like, gosh, stressed out, anxious, and just like frustrated with it? Mm-hmm. And imagine if you were always frustrated with a person in your life, how do you think they would feel? They wouldn't enjoy it. Imagine if you were never appreciative of them. You would never express gratitude towards them, especially an intimate partner. They'd probably leave you after a period of time. The relationship would not work. And if you thought of money when it came and when it left as an intimate relationship, and you said, as weird as it may sound, money comes to me, and if you said, thank you so much for being with me, where would you like to go? What do you want to do? It's weird thinking of it as a person.
I'm kind of into it.
If you're $1, $100,000, $1 million comes in your bank account, and you just say, thank you, money, for being here, where do you want to go? Do you want me to give you away today? Do you want me to use part of you to buy something for myself? Do you want me to invest in you and put you in somewhere? Do you want to go in the stock market? Do you want me to put you in real estate? Should I hire someone and help them in their life and their dreams with your money today? Where do you want to go? and almost asking it, role playing. As weird as this sounds, I feel like you'll have a better relationship with money when you invest and appreciate the money that comes to you.
You know what's weird is it is woo-woo, but I think that if you don't do things like this, you can have all the tactics in the world and you will still be broke. And, you know, it's fascinating. How did you come up with this?
Studying, asking, 12 years of research, asking all the wealthy people in the world that I knew.
And all your notebooks while you
and
read
all the
podcast.
therapists that I've interviewed and all the healing work I've done on intimacy and relationships. And I realized from some of my biggest episodes around money, and I just would ask people, what's your biggest challenge with money? What's your biggest fear? What's holding you back? What's blocking you? What's your limiting beliefs? And it always came back to this relationship with money. And I know this because I had a bad relationship with it for a long time. And it took years to kind of heal and learn these things and figure out, how can I feel emotionally free with money? Because I don't want money to have power over me.
Yeah.
And even a year and a half ago, I thought I was free with money, and something triggered me. Something hit the emotional, psychological wound of stealing my money. And it made me furious. And I realized it still has power over me.
Yeah.
I'm still not free with money emotionally. And this relationship of me and money is not good still. Maybe in certain areas, but not every area. And I'm sure there's more levels for this. It's not like I've mastered this. This is about me exploring how to set myself emotionally free and have tools that if I ever go back into pain, how do I create freedom quicker?
That's so good.
And again, I just know so many people that I'd ask questions to about what are their struggles around money? What are their fears, their concerns, their insecurities? People are living in fear around money. And that fear is blocking their abundance. It's blocking their ability to earn more and feel free with the money they're earning.
Yeah, and even to learn about how to make money. Because I think a lot of the reasons I go straight to tactics, because apparently I'm buddies with money. I don't know why, but I like him.
You walked in, you're like, hey, let's hang out.
Sup, what you got? But that's why I want to go to tactics immediately, because I'm like, oh, tell me. But
most people can't even go there because they don't have a relationship with it.
They cannot.
Toxic. Their whole relationship is broken.
100%.
So how are you going to do tactics if you can't even be in a room with money?
Yeah, 100%.
If you got an intimate partner in front of you and you don't feel emotionally safe to have an open, vulnerable conversation as a tactic, you've got to do the healing work on you first before you can actually look someone in the eyes and say, hey, you hurt me. Hey, this upset me. I want to talk about it calmly, consciously. Instead of, you hurt me. It's like when you are so reactive or fearful and wounded, you respond based out of a wound, not out of wisdom, not out of like conscious communication, not out of clarity. It doesn't mean everything's going to be comfortable in your life. These are about, you're going to have uncomfortable conversations. But how can you have those uncomfortable conversations like you do from a place of, when someone says that we need to talk, you try to lean into it right away. It doesn't mean it's easy, but you consciously lean in and say, what can we do to make this better?
100%.
You don't avoid it.
No.
You don't run from it. You do the uncomfortable thing, but you try to mend it faster.
Yeah. But it's a great point because, you know, it'd be sweet. I don't know. You don't have this in the book, I don't think, but like, I would love a quiz on personality types with money.
Oh, I've got a whole chapter with a quiz.
No, but you don't have where you can go and click and say you're
quiz.
this on your website?
Yes.
What's the website?
Well, I mean, it's in the book and I've got the code in here. I have to find the actual link
so you
for
gotta,
you.
you
MakeMoneyEasyBook.com
Okay, perfect.
is the website, but there's a whole
So you
chapter
buy the book.
with a quiz you can take here.
And is there
and
an
it tells you your
avatar?
personality style. Yes.
Okay, so what are you?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Let me find this page so I can tell the exact process of this.
Tell me when you're ready, and I'll tell a story in the meantime. So I remember I was speaking at a women's event.
Yes.
And it was a finance women's event with a bunch of like kind of pretty wealthy women, all in leadership roles. And this is when I realized that a book like yours was really needed, but I had no answers to this question then.
Yep.
I was going to go on and speak about how to do asset investing at like a high level, alternative investing, blah, blah, blah. But first they had this woo-woo chick in Austin come on and talk about.
Who was it? Do you remember?
I don't. I remember a lot of feathers and like there were
big hat.
beads. There was a
Yeah.
hat, and I was judgy. I was immediately judgy,
Yes.
and yet this woman came on and she blew my mind. She had us all close our eyes, She said, in the audience, everybody close your eyes. And I want you to visualize money. And I want your body to become a visual representation of your feeling of money.
I love it.
And so immediately,
very woo.
Yeah, very woo. And I'm like opening one eye slightly, but my hands like went up. I was like, money, I want it. I like it. And I kind of thought that would be everybody. And she said, now freeze, keep your eyes closed. Now open your eyes. And she had us look around.
And how many people had their hands up?
Oh, maybe like me and one other chick.
Wow.
And almost everybody else was, some of them might have been like this or like this or like this. And that's when I realized, whoa, in this area, I'm messed up in many, many, many areas. But in this one, this is such a wound for people. And if we don't heal the wound, then we definitely cannot apply, a new foundation. We can't apply growth. We can't extend.
Exactly. It's got to heal the wound. Yeah. And you were like free. You were like, I'm ready,
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I still freak out about money sometimes.
But most people are blocked. You have a different thing. You know,
which is I want too much of it. This is what you did to me on your podcast.
You have a different thing where it's like, I was like, what's enough? And you're like, I don't know. Like, you're like, there is not enough. You're like, I need it all. And it's not a right or wrong, good or bad conversation, but it's just why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make it wrong. Where is that coming from? That's it. And then you held back the tears. You're like, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to close down right now. I was like, okay, cool.
You did. You're like, what would it look like if you were enough? And I was like, shut up, Lewis.
Like, next topic.
Yeah, stop trying to make me emotional.
And it doesn't mean you don't have to like reach your ultimate potential and go for what you want to go for. I'm not saying that, but where is it coming from? And I don't know if you've reflected on that at all, but it's like, I think your money, I can't remember what was enough for you. You're like, I want 100 million. No, I want $1 billion or something. I was like,
just kept going bigger.
Why? And is your number still $1 billion or is it bigger now?
Well, I think some of the stuff that's helped me lately, we've talked about this, is that I want a family and I want.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah. And I have to make space for that. And there's got to be another priority.
Trad wife.
Yeah, I want to be a trad wife.
Trad wife.
You know this.
Hashtag trad wife life.
Oh my God, I want to be in sundresses, just prancing around like a happy little mother.
Cabin, with the little.
That's why I judged the chick. I wanted the hat and the beads. Full circle, probably.
You wanted to feel emotionally free.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to be going for $1 billion business brand and be in your heart all day.
Yeah.
And be like emotionally open and have flexibility and space for like chaos with kids running around and just being open to like cleaning diapers and like feeding and just listening to your kids like gobbledygook or whatever when they're kids.
Yeah.
Like you have to create that emotional space, that emotional freedom in order to be present. And if you're always in your head of like, we got to grow and build, you don't have space for that.
Yeah. And
it's not a good or bad, right or wrong thing. It's like, what do you want? What's your vision?
Yeah, and what's your season?
And $1 billion, what is that going to do for you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, buy you more planes than $100 million? Like, I don't know.
Probably
like, cool.
Not a big difference between.
And then what? You're going to give a lot of it away or buy more sports teams or invest in cool stuff. But it's like, for what? To manage more problems?
Yep, that's very true.
And at the end of the day, what is it that you want to feel? What is $1 billion going to make you feel when you hit that?
Higher level, higher devils.
And so for me, it's like what I'm hearing your heart say, and maybe it's the season of life or I don't know, clock ticking or whatever it might be, or you just feel like, okay, I also want this, that there's some richness and joy to that as well. That's probably more than $1 billion will ever give you.
Yeah. I've definitely felt it more. I mean, for young people that really want money, I love that pursuit. I think there's like a level of happiness that comes with being able to cover your basic needs. But man, I think you and I have both felt this. The happiest source of joy in my life is my husband.
Exactly.
And he's also the biggest pain in my ass sometimes, but mostly joy.
Yeah.
But I want to get to this style quiz.
Yeah, there's 4 different. Yeah. Page 43 of my book. There's a whole quiz that you'll go through and then add up your number or whatever. But there's these different styles that each person has, and one is called the director. But there's also a shadow style.
Which one do you think I am?
There's the director, the energizer, the shepherd, and the analyzer. You're probably a director. This is the benefits of a director are a self-starter, focused on results, favors facts over feelings, which is all about you. You don't have feelings. No, I'm just teasing.
None.
You're not intimidated by challenges. You're willing to make tough decisions. You're cool under pressure, and you have a strong action bias. But there are...
Then what's the shadow?
Well, the shadow is the interesting part. The director becomes the dictator.
Oh,
and so the weakness is they don't value input, doesn't value input. They avoid helpful routines and details sometimes. They struggle to think of others, mostly thinking about your needs. Overcommit self and others to too many things. Sacrifices healthy practices. Doesn't want to wait. Very impatient. Expresses discontent or appears uncaring. So it might be you.
Check.
Yeah, I mean, but that's if you go in like the dark side of your personality style.
But that's amazing. So they should read the book, then take your personality style. Because then when you know, and listen, I kind of am a believer, and I'm curious what you think. I think we can change, but not a lot. And so it's like, I'll probably always have a little bit of the dictator. I'll probably have a little bit of the director. But then it's just making sure you lead more from the light than the dark.
And the more you heal, the more you lean into the light side.
Right.
And that's the key. Like you're always going to have that style, but how can you have a healthier version of that style?
Right.
And not the dark version of that style. When I was, 10, 12 years ago, I just was down, like I was making all this money, but my ego was coming out. And I was so wounded in so many places that it was like aggressive everywhere with everyone in certain areas. And I was like, what is wrong with me? It's like this money was revealing more of who I was, of the dark side inside of me. Sure, it showed the light side as well. But when I was triggered emotionally, that came out even bigger. And money doesn't heal who you are, it reveals who you are. And until you learn to heal, then it's just going to reveal the better part of you.
So if you had to think about the steps that you would take to get money, it sounds like one of the first ones is going through these certain levels.
Yes.
And then what do you do next? So now you've got your style. Now you've got your story. Now you've got your personality.
Yes.
What do you do next?
So the first part is really understanding and having awareness about you. That's what it is. It's like reflecting on my story, reflecting on my style, getting my personality style so I understand what that is, and then reflecting on my whole strategy around money my entire life to where I am today. And once I have a kind of a blueprint around what that is, then there are 7 habits for creating financial freedom. And once we start to heal and mend and take ourselves to money therapy, then we can create financial success from a healthier place. Not from a place of, I need to prove myself, I'm not enough, I need more to feel good about me, or this will bring me happiness. So once we get to that kind of foundation first, then there's 7 habits. The first one is the mindset habit. And this is what I think a lot of people think, when I have money, then I'll give, then I'll be more generous. But the wealthiest people in the world start with generosity, even when they don't have a lot to give. I'm sure you've heard the Tony Robbins story about when he had like $10 in his pocket one day. He was like going broke. He had no money. He didn't know where the money was going to come in. And he was at a restaurant. He took himself to like his final dinner. He was like, all right, I'm broke after this dinner. And he found a young boy who was with his mother. And he went up to the young boy and said, you're paying for your mother, and here's the money. And he gave his last like $5, $10 away for this dinner. And he said he leapt out of the restaurant. Like the feeling of giving it, even though it was his last dollars, made him feel so alive. The generosity of giving a few dollars for this act of generosity. And he said, he went home and someone called him and who owed him money and sent him the money that day, and more money started coming in. Now that might have been a synchronicity. Who knows? But it was more about the feeling of generosity. And again, if you don't have money, you don't have to give it. Yep. But what can you give initially? Again, when I was broke, I reached out to thousands of people literally on LinkedIn in 2007, 8, and 9, and built relationships with people by asking them questions. That curiosity, people don't want you to ask them for advice. But they love talking about their story of how they overcame challenges to achieving their success. You're going to get the same answers either way. But you're giving to someone when you say, can you tell me how you overcame this season of life? It seems fascinating to me. Yeah. Versus, can you give me advice on how to get a job? Yeah. No one wants to give their time to someone else, but they will give of their storytelling about how they overcame something. and they'll give you hours of their time.
It's so true.
It's just a simple switch. How many people could you say, I love to, get 5 minutes of your time to pick your brain? It's like, you don't have time. You're busy. You can't give someone freely of this time that you don't even know. Mm-hmm. But maybe if someone wrote you a nice email and was just like, man, I really love like the business you did back like 7 years ago. And they really researched and said they found something you did. They're like, that was so cool. And how you jumped from here to here. I would love to hear that story if you have a few minutes to share it. Maybe you won't have the time, but you're more likely to have the time if it's the right timing for you to say, yeah, I'm happy to email you or jump on a call, or maybe we can meet in the future. Like, you're more open to it. Anyways, the mindset habit is about being generous. And if you don't have money.
I want to double tap on that for a second, because one of my favorite quotes from one of my smartest mentors, Donald Park, was, if you want money, ask for advice. And if you want advice, ask for money. And I love that, because it's basically another level to what you're saying, which is, especially when you start, asking people to invest in your stuff, asking for a raise, asking for whatever. We think the direct path is the best, which is, I would like a raise, or I would like you to invest in this, or I would like you to X with money. But if instead you said, I saw, Louis, that at this point in your life, you did this X thing. How did you end up breaking up with money then? What was that like? Or if you said to your boss, hey, if one day I wanted to get a raise,
what would it take?
What would it take? What would that look like? What are you actually doing? You're asking for a raise.
Exactly.
But you're asking for advice, which feels much cleaner.
Yes.
So I think that's really, really powerful. And if you can switch that up, I love it.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing tactically on that is like, what does that look like for you daily?
Back then it was me emailing people on LinkedIn constantly.
And it was just like one question. Like,
I tried to find 3 points of connection within every message. Mm-hmm. In the first line, I would find something that we had in common somehow. Even if it was, I see we're both from like the same city. I would just, whatever I could find, I would try to add that in there. Mm-hmm. And then in the second line, I would talk about something where I'm really inspired by what they've done. I really like what you created here at Sports Illustrated. I was back in the sports world early on, and how you've built this brand. So I was just emailing CEOs. And then I was always trying to find another point of like connection within the third line, which is, finding, it was usually on LinkedIn, it was who you have in common. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see we're both connected to so-and-so as our second degree connection. And I was just chatting with them last week about you, and they really love what you helped them with. Mm-hmm. So I'd always find a connecting person that we had in common. Mm-hmm. I'd find some couple points of interest that we had in common as well. And then I'd try to acknowledge them for what they've created. Mm-hmm. And then I'd say, I'd love to learn more about how you did this. And when I originally started doing this, I was just asking people for advice and no one replied. Then I was like, oh, you got to kind of like butter people up a little bit and be more intentional about it and do some research and be like more thoughtful about them, not about what I need. Mm-hmm. And the more I did that, I just repeated it and everyone started replying to me. Mm-hmm. And then people were taking me out to lunch and paying for me to learn from them when I was like broke. It's like, oh, there's something to this. And that's actually what inspired me to launch the School of Greatness. I was having all these fascinating conversations with people way more successful than me. And I was like, if people could only hear these conversations, they would be able to build a business like I've just done in the last few years. I was like, why don't I just start recording these things and put them out there? And that's essentially why School of Greatness was born.
That's wild. I've listened to you for years, as you know. But it is even now, like, as successful as maybe somebody, might think you or I are, there are dark, dark days and hard days that I put on School of Greatness, or I put on Founders Podcast, or I put on one of our other friends' podcasts. And I just listen. Like, I'm feeling a little lost. And so I want to pick up, I want to steal just a little bit of that like energy, that contagion, like you talked about.
Yes.
And so I think that's beautiful. Yeah. So it's this generosity and constant reach out.
And gratitude.
Yeah.
When you're broke, you're not grateful by default.
Yeah.
You're frustrated. You're resentful of the government. You're resentful of who's in, which political party's in power and what they're not giving you. You're frustrated that they took away this grant or these loans or this thing. You're like, I'm not getting what I want and they're not taking care of me. Mm-hmm. Or there's some resentment or frustration, typically, not by everyone. So you've got to learn to shift it and say, what am I grateful for? And living in gratitude and generosity. That's the first principle. Most people say, I'll be grateful, I'll be generous when I have more money.
Yeah.
You need to make that the first principle, the first tactic, and the first feeling, and meshing them together. How can I be a giver? And what that looks like for me now is when I see someone like you doing so well, I reach out to you. I'll send a voice note, a video message, a text, and say, God, this is amazing what you're doing. Keep crushing it. If I can help with anything, let me know. And if you're looking for advice on this in the future, I got your back. It doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
Or it could be, hey, just thinking about you lately, what's the biggest challenge you're faced with right now in your business? And just doing that once every few months, or what's the biggest challenge you're having in life with it right now with your friends? Doing that once every few months with your top 20 connections and just being top of mind. And then when they tell you their biggest challenge, solve it as fast as you can. Because it's usually a pain they've had for months.
Yeah.
And when you solve their problem, and when you also connect them with one person who is the solution, you're now you're not just helping one person, you're actually helping two people expand. And then you become the champion of their relationship. Mm. They always talk about, man, so grateful for Lewis for connecting us. I have two buddies of mine that both, I did this like 4 years ago with two friends of mine. And one guy was like, I'm trying to figure out social media. Can you help me like what you do? And I was like, it's not something I do for someone. I can give you strategy, but I know a guy if you're looking for someone to help you run this. And I reached out to the guy and say, hey, this person's looking for this. Can you help him? He said, yes. I connect them. Literally a year and a half later, they send me a car to my apartment building because they made like $10 million together. Wow. Over this next like couple of years. Maybe it was 2.5 years. They do $10 million together. And they think of me as the champion of their wealth, of their abundance, of their success. You know, they did all the work, but I was the champion that connected them. I thought about both of them, how they could both succeed. And they sent me a car as a gift, as a thank you. And it's just when you can do that for someone, you're expanding people's opportunities for success and growth. And you become the champion. They always want to give back. If they're good people, they're going to want to give back. And just reach out to your friends, your family, say, what's your biggest challenge right now? How can I help? And try to solve it. Like call someone right then and say, I got the person, let me three-way you in now. Like do it now. And then I learned this by hosting LinkedIn networking events in 2008, 2009. I did 20 events around the country using LinkedIn as the platform to market these LinkedIn networking events. Yeah. And the economy was crashing, people were struggling. This is how I got started. And every person that walked in the door, I'd say, what's your name? Put a name tag on them. And I'd say, what's your business and what's your biggest challenge? And then 10 people later, I'd say, what's your name? What's your business? What's your biggest challenge? And I'd be like, oh, someone was a graphic designer and someone needs graphic design services. I would take this person and walk them to them and say, connect, do your deal now. And I would do that for everyone that would come to the events. Mm. And they were all succeeding, sending me emails and letters and referrals and commissions for just connecting the dots.
Well, you did that for me with Rory, remember, in the book. And so because of that, I learned all about the inside of books and never would have done it. So it's really good. And I feel like the only way you can kill this practice of gratitude is by expecting something in return, right?
Yes.
So if you do this, you can't get mad when they never send you the car.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like the key. All right. We've got point one.
Yes.
Let's do 2 and 3. Okay. And then we're going to make them read your book for the others.
The second one is the mapping habit. And this is really kind of creating a map and almost like a game plan for how much money you want to make. This is Codie Sanchez like tactics. I want to make a billionaire. Okay. So it's why do we want to be a billionaire? What's the process for getting there? And how am I going to get there? And what's this next season of life, these next 3 to 6 months that I'm going to start working towards this? What's the map? What's the game plan? Creating micro goals, bigger goals, and starting to strategize how to get there. When I was broke on my sister's couch, I was like, I just want more money. And I was like, okay, a mentor was like, you got to get clear. Yep. Just in the next 3 months, how much do you want to make? You're broke. You're not going to be a millionaire in a year. Maybe, but it's like, just plan for 3 months. What do you want? I was like, I want $5,000. And he goes, how do you want to make it? Tell me if you could do it doing anything. I go, I want to make it giving a speech. I want to speak and get paid $5,000. And at the time, I was learning public speaking and Toastmasters, so I was developing the skill, but I was not that good yet. But he said, okay, are you willing to go all in on this? Because you're so far away from $5,000 at this point, broke on my sister's couch. And I was like, I'm willing to go all in. He goes, put a date by when you want to accomplish this by. I want you to sign it and certify it, make a certification and put it on your wall and look at it every day and then take an action every single day to go make that $5,000. And the first week may just be, I'm going to go give 3 speeches for free and get reps. I'm going to get coaching. I'm going to get feedback. Then I'm going to charge, $5 for like a ticket to a workshop. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to keep giving free, like whatever it is, map out the game plan to make that $5,000. Within 3 months, I made $5,000 on one speech. And I made money along the way, a little bit here and there, by taking the action on the mapping habit. So get clear on your goal. If yours is $1 billion, by when?
Yep.
What's the strategy? What's the yearly strategy? How are you going to break it down seasonally? Who are the people you need to hire? It's creating that game plan and map, and then signing a certificate to yourself from you and dating it and framing it and saying, this is going to happen. And it doesn't matter actually if it happens or not, but it's creating a clear intention, going back to that energetic feeling of this is happening. What do I need to do to make it happen? And just getting clear. The third one is the monetizing habit. This is something that when I was, again, broke on my sister's couch, I didn't know how to monetize anything because I didn't understand money. I didn't have a college degree yet, and I didn't know who would give me money. So I had to learn what are these intangibles, these hidden assets that I could monetize because I didn't have any hard skills that were monetizable. And these are some of the things I'm talking about, learning how to build relationships, connecting people, overcoming fears, overcoming self-doubt, setting clear goals, accomplishing them. It was just like having passion and energy, asking dumb questions to smart people. I didn't think these were skills, but who would have thought asking dumb questions to millionaires for years would have helped me build a business, would have turned into a 12-year podcast, one of the biggest podcasts in the world. I never thought I could make money asking dumb questions, and that's what I do every day. But it's learning about what are these hidden skills, these hidden assets that you don't think you have, starting to develop those and bring those out. And I talk about how to find and monetize your uniqueness that can really bring that out and bring abundance into your life. And I'm telling you, I didn't think I could do any of this. I was so dumb. I was so insecure. I had no skills. I almost flunked out of college and almost flunked out of high school. And I needed tutors every year. And I was in special needs classes. So I didn't have the skill set to go get a job or do these things. But I learned how to monetize my inner world and my inner skills for external financial success. And you can too.
It's so good. Yeah, I wonder if in the future there'll be like a little money gym, sort of like there's a physical gym, like, because you can see thinking about these ideas, it is therapy, but it's a different type.
It is.
If our international language right now is money,
Yep.
and it is the one thing that we all spend most of our life in pursuit of besides sleeping, but yet we spend so little time learning about it.
Yes.
We spend so little time diagnosing it, and then we spend so little time figuring out our decision making on it or coming up with daily habits on it. So no wonder we're broke. 47% of Americans die broke. And why? Because we don't know how to habituate it. We don't know how to diagnose it.
Yeah.
And then we don't know how to make decisions on it.
I mean, unless you're Bill Perkins and you want to die broke,
Exactly.
die with zero. But that doesn't mean you die. You lived rich, but you end with zero.
Believe me, he's doing just fine. That guy,
but most people live with zero and die with zero.
That's right.
He lives abundantly, but he's planning to give it all away at the end of his life, I guess, which is a different strategy. So, yeah, the goal is to really figure out what your inner currency is and how to maximize that and monetize your inner currency.
What's been the coolest thing that's happened since you've put out the book? Have a bunch of people responded about it yet?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's more of like, going on tour was really cool to just see people and share these concepts and get people opening up. For me, and again, this is a little woo-woo, but it's getting people to open their heart to feel like they are worthy of their life. It's feeling I am worthy of the pursuit that I'm creating, whether I'm making tons of money, a little money, some money, no money, but reminding people of their worthiness. Because when I believe people are more self-confident, more self-worthy, they create and attract opportunities. You become wealthier financially. A person who lacks confidence and self-worth is usually going to sabotage good things when they come to them. And so you might be able to make something, but then you're like, I'm guilty and ashamed that I have this. It's learning to step into your power and your worth, not in an egotistic way, but just in a conscious, loving way. And saying, how can I be a giver? How can I be grateful for all that I've received? And how can I be generous in life? And I think that's a worthy life.
Yeah, but also a lot of the woo-woo stuff, people get mad about it with money because it's not tactical.
Yeah.
This is very tactical, which is why I think it's pretty rare, actually. I mean, I've read just about every book I could find on money because I do find it fascinating. But when people ask me, what are the steps to become rich when you have no money? My answer is typically
tactics.
You got to go obsess on your skill set and earn more.
Yes.
And you got to obsess on learning more. That's like 100%. Step 1 and 2.
And I did that.
But not without this.
But I did that and I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
I made money and it solved money problems, but all my relationships were broken.
Yeah.
And I was emotionally broken. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I just need to be bigger and better and be number one always. And if I drop down anywhere and I make less money one year than the next year, then I'm going to be stressed out and frustrated and I'm going to be angrier and I need to go make more and work harder. And I was exhausted. Yeah. It was exhausting. And it doesn't mean it wasn't fun at times. It's nicer to have money than to not have money. I don't want to go back on my sister's couch. And that fear of not wanting to go back made me like hold on to it more as opposed to being more relaxed and flowing and allowing it to come and go and appreciating when it's here and saying, thank you for being here. And I got to spend you here. Great. I'm excited for that as well. And it was that journey of healing and understanding, oh, what's my money wiring? Why am I this way? Oh, let me just reflect on some of these stories and like, oh, I guess that's why my nervous system, I react around money in these situations naturally because that's what happened to me growing up. So let me start to mend those things so that I can actually feel rich and be rich.
Is there a difference between men and women that you've seen and the way they think about money writ large?
Probably, but I'm not sure how to explain it right now. And I'm also, my wife is really smart when it comes to a lot of things, but she studied money for most of her life and she had a healthy relationship with it when she was younger. Like she would tell me stories of like, they grew up in, poor Mexico, in the south of Mexico. They didn't have a lot of money growing up, but her dad, whenever they would have money, he'd have like her and her siblings on the bed, like throwing money in the air, jumping and saying, money is good. Money is fun. Like we are happy and money, we love money and money loves us. These are like things that she would say. And her dad would create these environments, even though he didn't have a lot of money. But it was creating like an emotional connection with money that money is a good thing. People with money aren't evil. People with money aren't bad. Maybe some people are, but it doesn't mean you have to be. And it can feel good with it. So she always had a healthy relationship with it. She started making money when she was younger. She was in her late teens. She was doing TV and movies. And she's like, she went to seminars. She went to like Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars 20 years ago.
That's wild.
And she was like studying books and learning. And I think that mindset of like, I'm going to keep learning and I'm going to have a healthy relationship with it. And it doesn't have power over me. It's for her, I think that's rare in women because a lot of women I haven't met that do that. I think a lot of women have been, maybe it's shifted now in the girl boss era, but I think a lot of women maybe just haven't been as invested in learning and invested in investing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know Chris Powell. Do you know him? He was on Iced Coffee Hour recently. Okay. But I just had him on yesterday and he was like, I've been trying to get women for years to invest. And it's been like pulling teeth trying to get people to just invest $10 a month in the stock market. And so he's like, it's been so hard to get women to invest. And I'm not sure why that is. But maybe you see it differently with your community because you're attracting women who want to do what you do.
Well, I have found that, if you're a woman out there talking about money consistently, it's a little, some people can perceive it as gauche or
Gauche? What
like,
is this?
it's just like
Trad wife?
exactly.
It's just another term that I don't know.
I wish. Like a little showy, like not in good taste.
Yeah.
And I have found, you know what's interesting, actually, Louis? I can quantify this. In our group, at first, they wanted a separate group in our business buying community for the women. They wanted like a separate channel, basically, in our Slack. And we have these different channels about different types of deals and industries and sectors. And they were like, we want a women business buying thing. And my immediate reaction was, no.
Why?
No. Like, your vagina, my vagina have nothing to do with whether you can buy a business or not.
Exactly.
Totally unrelated. But then I talked to a few of them, and that made a few mad. And so they talked to me about it, and I can sometimes be brash. So I was like, well, let me hear you. Let's talk to me through this.
What did they say?
That they were embarrassed. They were embarrassed about some of the questions that they had. They had shame about the size of the deals they had versus the other guys. They were scared about how they negotiated versus others.
And this is the thing. When we are living in fear, shame, or guilt around these things, we are limiting our power and our ability to make decisions. Or we have to like hide in different types of groups and say, I'm only going to talk to these people.
Yep.
That means money or these deals or the flow of money has some type of power over you because you are ashamed to talk about it to other people.
Yep.
This is not a right or wrong, good or bad conversation. This is is that supporting and serving your life? Do you feel free when you have to hide yourself and have conversations in limited groups versus with anyone?
Yep.
And that's why in the beginning of the conversation, I was saying, start having conversations with everyone around money. You don't have to reveal what's in your bank account day one, but start just, hey, what's your thoughts on money? What do you think about when money comes to you? Or do you ever think about investing? If so, what do you think about it? What's your process look like? Just having some general conversations and feeling more safe in those conversations with girlfriends, with guy friends, with colleagues, whatever it might be, so you are in power, not feeling like it has power over you.
It's just so necessary because with those women, what I eventually said was, instead of doing that, can I push you guys to have this conversation in the main group?
Yeah.
And I will lead it. I'll like lead it off. I'll tell some embarrassing things about me first because you are self-limiting by going to this group because the average net worth of the woman in our group is lower than the men. You guys also are doing slightly smaller deals than the guys on average. So if you pull yourselves over here into a group of people that have less money, that do smaller deals, what are you replicating? Well, now you're in a group that's smaller when the whole point of you being in here is for you to be in a group of other winners. And so we eventually sort of compromised on this idea. And I said, listen, if anybody's rude to you, if anything negative happens, like you ping me direct and I will make sure that I handle it. But can I please push you slightly to go bigger?
Yeah. And I'm all for people like, being in safe environments and having safe settings when they're talking about something that's vulnerable for you. I'm not saying you have to do this right away with billionaires because you're not going to know what they know.
Right.
But I think there is also a process of, that's why it is important to read books or watch your show and get mentorship and be in these types of groups because it's going to expose you to feeling more comfortable over time. And I wasn't comfortable within my first year of learning stuff. It still takes time, but I'm also now comfortable knowing that I don't know a lot. And when you think you've learned a lot about money, you actually realize you don't know that much at all still. There's like different levels. You're like, what are these people doing? I don't know what this terminology is. I'm still a beginner, it seems like. But I'm okay that I'm a beginner and I'm okay to say, well, this is where I'm at. And if that's embarrassing to me, then it doesn't matter as much anymore. And I think learning to be okay with who I am, with where I'm at, no matter what environment or setting I'm in, is power. And it's having that courage that makes you feel more empowered as well.
Yeah, the only embarrassing way that you can do this is by trying to pretend you're something you're not.
Exactly.
Because then people can see. But if you're pretty candid about the fact that, yeah, man, I'm not making as much as I want to, and I know you guys have 7 figures over here, I'm working on my first 5, I'd love to hear more about what you would do if you only had 5.
Yeah.
People are like, great,
that's
raw.
Yeah, and they want to help you. When you're real and raw about where you're at, the right people will be inspired by your vulnerability and say, hey, if you ever want to talk about it, let me know. I'm happy to support you getting here. Here's some things I would do that I would avoid. And if they're not encouraging, get out of those communities and groups.
Great point.
Find people in other groups that are more supportive and safe.
I am so glad you came on today, Lewis Howes. Make money easy. I can't wait to see everybody tag us in their videos of their money personality and relationship. And I'm really excited to pass on this book. I think this is the missing piece that I didn't have, where, before you go buy a business, make sure you understand how your relationship with money is. So I'm going to plug it right in.
Appreciate it. Thanks
you.
For being here. I don't want people to sabotage the deals they make because they feel unworthy or insecure, or they feel like, oh, now that this is happening, I'm in a breakdown. What do I do? And let me retreat because emotionally I don't feel safe. So the goal is not to retreat. It's to say, how can I go through this challenge and adversity within my business and expand and overcome it, not retreat.
Make money easy. Go buy the book everywhere books are bought. Follow Lewis Howes on all the varying sites, but my favorite is School of Greatness on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Lewis, you're the man. Thanks for being here. You guys, tell me if you felt the same way that I felt about this episode. Was this as useful and insane as I thought it was? I hope that hundreds of thousands of you are watching this on YouTube, and I know that hundreds of thousands of you are listening to it just about everywhere. If you found this impactful, do me a solid. Tag me on Instagram and let me know that you are about to get that money because of this episode. I want to see all the stories about you out there making money and making impact because you are a big deal to me. Until next time. Hey guys, if you've ever thought about buying a business, we've built what I think is the best acquisitions and business buying community and education curriculum in the world. If you've ever thought about wanting to buy or own a business, or if you want to add more businesses to the mix, it's called the Contrarian Community. And what this is the goal is we give you the 3 things that the best business buyers use: your own advisory team, your own investment committee, and a deal team. We get together each week to review deals live and beat up all the deals that you're currently looking at while you simultaneously learn the best way possible, which is called modeling, by seeing other people put together deals. This is how private equity buys businesses. This is how investment teams work. And we're stealing the methods from Wall Street and giving them to you. If this is interesting to you, go to click the link and you can actually talk to my team direct about if this is a fit or not. We can help guide you. The link is in the show description.
When people feel like they know you and you just open up to everybody, then you just gave them the green light to take advantage of you.
Today I've got Evie Pomporas. She's not just a former Secret Service agent who protected 4 presidents and tons of dignitaries. She's a master of influence, lie detection, and psychological strength.
Nice people can screw you over. Everyone's on their own journey for their own self-interest, and along the way, they may burn you.
And she is going to teach you today how to stop getting played in business, relationships, and life.
If you struggle with people and they take advantage of you, stop talking a lot.
If you've ever wanted to read people like a pro, speak with power, or walk into any room and own it, this is your episode.
Once you set the tone for people on how to treat you, it's done. It's so done.
You have been with the biggest leaders in the world, right?
Yeah.
10 or 12 years with presidents.
I had them either when they were current or in former. So Ford, before he passed away, I had Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Obama, Clinton's. I've had everybody but Reagan.
That is wild.
I wanted Reagan. I heard he was a great guy.
Yeah, he seems like a legend. Having been with these huge world leaders, the best in the world, I'm curious. Yeah, what do you learn?
When you're in the White House, you're in proximity. So a lot of folks don't know. So you're protecting presidents, current and former, and you're also protecting foreign heads of state. So a lot of folks don't know that when a foreign head of state comes to the United States, they would get Secret Service protection. And the goal is that you don't want foreign heads of state being assassinated on U.S. soil. I grew up in an environment, and probably like from my early 20s on, being in an environment around this type of leadership. And without me realizing it, I was getting training. One thing I learned was truly resiliency. I mean, you'd be next to a president. I mean, literally, you're standing next to them and the screen's on and it's a network that doesn't like them and is literally just calling them all the names you could think of. And they had to tune that out and either get back up on stage to give a speech or go out there. And you would see it. Or there was one day, and I forget what it was, but where all the Congress members would come to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a name for it. It's escaping me. And it was a day where the First Lady and the President would have to greet them and spend the day with them. But there would be the same members also within there that like literally spewed just horrible things about them. And they would have to come and be gracious. And so I really learned how not to engage in conflict unless necessary, or also not even in conflict, but like to decide what was worth engaging in and what's not, and what's just to dismiss, like what doesn't matter. So you learn how to deal with people, but with grace and class. That was one thing I learned. The other thing that I thought was really smart that they did, it was always a circle of people around them. So they created a buffer. So even though there's negative things and chaos going around you, which there always is, you have a select group of people that you've selected. They've gone through your filter system. A lot of them were loyal people. And that buffer of people kept them clear, calm, and they were almost like a barrier to the outside world. So I learned having layers of zones of people. You have your innermost zone. There's not one circle. It's multiple circles. So you've got your intimate circle, which is your people, where there's very high level of trust. You've got an outer zone where it's friendly, but not complete trust. I'll give you some trust.
Yeah.
Then there's the acquaintance zone where you want to network and deal with these people, or you have to. Outer circle where these are people just like looking to just devour you, but you still have to deal with them. So it's almost like these concentric zones.
Yeah.
And so I learned watching that. I didn't realize it till actually the most recent years when people were like, why do you do that? And I kept thinking, well, why wouldn't I do that? I got into the Secret Service 23. So I was exposed to that from a young age and absorbed it. So you learn a lot from the way people carry themselves, and you absorb that. So just because I happen to be around them, I absorb those characteristics.
It seems like everybody thinks that authenticity and vulnerability and sharing is the best trait one can have. You know, let me share everything. Let me overshare everything. Let me be authentic by sharing everything. We've kind of forgotten that humans can have good intentions and bad intentions, and you have to guard a little bit what you share publicly. And so I love the idea of like, who are your close friends? And you don't have to treat everybody the exact same. You can treat people kindly everywhere, but you don't have to let everybody in. And I've certainly found that being more public now, and I'm sure you have too. In the beginning, I was like, everybody's my buddy. And then later I realized like, oh no, they're just really charismatic. Like, we're not friends. That's their job, is to like make me feel like I'm their friend. And I think a lot of the world around us is like that. And so, you know, I'd be curious your take. Do you think that being authentic and vulnerable all the time is good, and that's what you should do?
No. This whole vulnerable thing, I always hear it. Here's the problem with that. If I'm going to share something with you, it should be truthful, and it should be done genuinely. Like, don't give me a story because you're trying to get me to put my guard down. How about you just be a genuine person?
Yeah.
How about you just be truthful, respectful, and professional, and let things happen on their own organically. And this authentic thing, so that's another thing. Probably the worst person, Cody, to ask these questions. I just, you know, I want to be transparent and honest with people because I feel like they're given things to do and it does not work. And it sabotages their efforts, and then they're kind of at a loss. I don't understand why I'm having problems with people. I don't understand why I don't have better relationships. So being authentic, first of all, what does that mean? Just be genuine. It's not, I think what people think authentic means is I'm going to come in, I'm going to be me, and whoever likes it. You need to bring different versions of you to different conversations and to different people. I'm in business now. You and I were talking a little bit off camera. And when I work with people or have people work with me, I want the business version of you. Yeah. I don't want the version of you that comes in, Evie, I need advice. I don't mind from time to time, but I'm running a business. So if you come in authentically, like, I'm having a horrible day, Evie, I need this, I need that. I'm truly sorry to hear that, but that doesn't work with the business version of me. I can't get things done. So I need this professional, strong version of you to show up for me. That's that's where this authentic thing leads people. And I do a lot of keynotes. By mistake, I kind of happened to stumble to doing keynotes for big companies. And I mean like Fortune 100 companies. And I'm putting it out there, everybody, so they know, one of the biggest complaints they have is we're getting people in who have a weak work ethic, who are bringing versions of themselves that is not helping the whole mission of the company, that we're having difficult time keeping people, finding the right people, then bringing people who will blend into our culture and make it strong. And there's this heightened level of weakness that's coming out. I'm also an adjunct professor. I see it with my students. They are shocked when I hold them accountable for an assignment. They are shocked when I won't accept a late assignment. Shocked. And I'm like, why would I accept it? I gave you outlines, I gave you parameters. I made it very clear to you day one during our interview together before you came to my class, because it's like a job interview, whether you should stay in my class or not, what I expect. But they're surprised when I hold them accountable to what I told you I expect.
That's wild. I mean, I believe it.
Because people say, I expect this of you, but then I do this. So then what we do is we groom people. I may tell you I want this from you, but my behavior says, okay, I know the syllabus says, don't hand this late. And that I won't accept it. And, I know I told you on the first day that don't bother handing in a late assignment. But then when you do come to me with a late assignment, then I break and I'm like, okay, give it to me. I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. And I'm also not guiding you for the outside world to be your best.
I think I heard you say somewhere, and I really liked it, that, a boundary is something that you actually hold. Otherwise, you're just talking. And I love this. It's like in this world, if you don't keep your promises to yourself, and if you don't keep the promises that you say you will out loud to another, that's probably the worst promise you could break,
Well, you get mad at yourself too.
Yeah.
And that's when people walk all over you. And it's a common thing. People come to me, this person keeps doing this to me. And I'm always like, you realize you play a role. It's not I'm not being mean. It's like, and I'm not blaming you. It's like, you have to always be like, what am I doing that's causing this? Every time I struggle with something or someone, I always go back in, okay, what am I doing that's helping contribute to this circumstance, to this situation, to this environment? So I may not be the whole solution, because it's always 50%, 50% me, 50% you. But I'm going to manage my 50.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with myself. In US culture, we minimize the things we do wrong. I'm an adjunct professor in psychology, so I'll share a little bit of like what I've learned from the different cultures, where if you look at an Asian culture, they're very much more about community and doing the right things for the whole community. And if they do something wrong, they will look at, what did I do wrong and how can I change this? They're a little bit more honest. In US culture, Western culture, we minimize our shortfalls. We like to minimize them. And so you want to find a balance. Like, you don't want to beat yourself up, because I don't think that is healthy. But I think we've gone to a point where we're so extreme. It's not my fault. It's this thing's fault. It's that thing's fault. And again, you can do that. It doesn't serve you. And I think it creates problems for you and struggles for you that you help to cultivate.
Yeah. So what would the solution be for somebody who maybe says, I'm typically a victim, and, this keeps happening to me. I keep having this. I wish it would change. What are the words you tell them? You say, sit down, do X, Y, and Z. You say, keep your promises to yourself. What is the tactical next move to break that habit of blaming everybody else?
Well, the first move is to stop saying that to yourself. It's the words you feed your mind. It's like you're feeding it to your mind. I'm not a victim. I've never used that word in my life. And I, like everybody else, have gone through my share of difficulties and hardships. And again, it varies, what bad thing I go through varies compared to other people. Like, my bad thing may be very bad for me, but for somebody else, it's like, meh, right? Or vice versa. But change the way you talk to yourself. So this, I'm a victim, get rid of that. No, you're not. You're nobody's prey. You're nobody's prey. I am nobody's prey. Change that tone in your head. It always starts first with the way you speak to yourself and the way you groom your mind to think of yourself. One of the things that helped me a lot is I learned to read people well. So now you would say to me, well, you have an unfair training and you are an interviewer, investigator. You don't need all that. You really just need to be less talkative. If you struggle with people a lot and they take advantage of you, stop talking a lot. So there's a couple of reasons why. One reason is I want you to gather intelligence. You got to think of it like you're an intel gatherer. So when you're talking, you're not gathering anything. You're gathering zero. So you want to get good read on them, let them reveal, give people space to reveal themselves. So that's one. So now I'm reading you and getting you. I always reflect back. I'm like a mirror. Tell me about that. Oh, no kidding. Tell me about you, especially if I'm in the dark with something. So that's one. The other thing is when you're talking, it's very hard to read people. It's a high cognitive load. So the more quiet you can be, the better you're going to be at picking up cues. And even though you can't articulate what that person did that you don't like, you feel it. You feel it. Just the other day, somebody was telling me about something about someone else. And they're like, I just don't feel right with this person. But I keep engaging them because I can't articulate what the reason is. And I'm like, no, you need to listen to that because you're picking something up. You just may not have the skill set yet to define what that is, that cue or that the words or tone or whatever that is they're doing that cause this hiccup for you, but you need to follow it.
Yeah.
Lighten your load. When you go quiet, it's a lower cognitive load. That's why when we did interviews, I was a polygraph examiner with the U.S. Secret Service. I never did criminal interviews alone. Never. I always had a partner. And here's why. And we would say, I'm going to be primary, or you're going to be primary, I'm going to be secondary. And the reason why was because I'm talking to my person, my subject. My load is high, so I'm missing things. I'm trying to figure out what to say, how to say it, read you at the same time, listening to your responses. What should I say next? Oh no, how should I shape this question if I follow up with this? Is there an issue here? But this person here who's sitting quietly next to me is picking up all the things that I'm missing. And so what we would do is we actually had chairs with wheels on them. And these have wheels. So when I would get stuck, I would organically just wheel back. And it was the cue for my secondary to wheel up and jump in. And then they would pick up all the things that I missed. And they would say, earlier on, you mentioned this. Could you tell me a little bit about that? That's why being quiet is so powerful. It lightens your load. So if a person feels very overwhelmed, or they feel that they're being kind of taken for a ride over and over again, go quiet and really let people reveal themselves. And then the other thing is, don't crush so hard. When you meet someone and let's say you really like them, just don't go all the way in. Mm-hmm. Don't crush so hard, and don't chase the like. We like it when people like us, right? You get the dopamine hit. Who doesn't want to be liked? But the thing is, not everybody is going to be in alignment and in harmony with you. Mm-hmm. And so again, they can be nice, but their value system, belief system, agendas in life are different than yours. And that's going to lead to bumps later on. And so you will save yourself sometimes a lot of pain and hardship if you don't like so hard.
Yeah, I think the first time I realized that was when I started having business partners and I wasn't very good at picking them. And I would crush too hard too fast. And then I would feel bad for pulling back. I would have that little flare, that little thing in my stomach where I thought, oof, we're out of alignment and something's off. But we were too far in. Now I'm like, what am I going to do? Pull away, no longer talk to this person? So this whole inner dialogue. And Chris, my husband, said something great to me, which was, he's like, people are hard to conceal over time. And he said, especially people are hard to conceal in the evening. And I don't know if this is true because we should talk about your time with interrogations and lie detections. But he was saying that one of the favorite things that he liked to do when he did his job in the military was he wouldn't ask the hard questions in the morning, when a coffee was happening with a subject that they were interested in. It would typically be in the evening after they were together for a long day. Lots of stuff was happening. They weren't exactly sure, when the next coffee would come, when the next water. And that's when the person would kind of reveal. They'd be tired. It would be hard to keep up a veneer. And I thought that was really clever because, everybody kind of looks better with a fresh cup of coffee. But with you in particular, God, some of your work on interrogation and lie detection I thought was so interesting. I was wondering if you had any stories about a time you caught someone lying and how you could actually tell that they were.
It was an applicant for a job. And he was having a hard time passing his polygraph. He was being polygraphed in the U.S. Secret Service. To be an agent, you have to take a polygraph and pass it. And it's a hard thing for some people. And so this applicant, who's like a football player, very well liked by everybody, takes his first polygraph. He doesn't fail it. He doesn't pass it. He's what's inconclusive. And I'm asked to come in to give him a fresh face, because we would have this rule: you never wanted the same person to interview you a second time. You want a clean face. So this young man in the interview was telling me about, you go through, I can't give too much away, but in the polygraph for the U.S. Secret Service, you ask them what crimes they've committed in life. And most people will tell you, no, I've never done anything. Well, I get very specific and granular, and I go through each crime. And often people are like, no, I've never been arrested. And, I was like, that's not what I asked you. You can commit a crime and get away with it. In fact, in the U.S., the data shows 80% of crime goes unsolved. We have a lot of crime. So as I'm speaking to him, somehow, without getting too much in the weeds, he started to reveal to me a date he went on with a woman while he was in college, and that he had been intimate with her, but then after the fact, she left very upset. So I hear this and I'm, okay, this is bothering him. Why? And I had him talk me through the date. And then I had them talk me carefully through their intimacy and how that transpired. And, in that, he revealed, I held her wrists down. She was very upset. She was crying, how she left. And without him saying rape, he described to me what would be considered a rape.
Wow.
So he never said it. But what he did is he gave admissions. I held her wrists down. She said it hurt. She was crying. She left in tears. And there were other things he shared. All these things together, when you put them together, paint that picture of this is what he did to her. And so that's how I knew what he had done. So actually, I can't recall at the moment. I don't think I even polyed him. I got all the admissions and I knew in that moment, I'm like, it's not going to happen for him, and nice guy, very nice guy. He seemed super nice in the chair, but you could see he's having this moment of looking back and thinking, what did I do? But he's telling me the story through his lens.
Yep.
Through his lens, he's like, well, she said no. I'm like, how many times did she say no? She said no the whole time. And so all these different pieces. And that would be, those are very good examples of, don't wait for people to tell you, I did this or I did that. They give you what's called admissions. And they're little peeks behind the veil to show you. But what you have to do, and what I learned to do, and I still do, is when they give you a little peek, ask them a question that helps the curtain get pulled back a little bit more. Don't just let it go. So like what I did with him was, okay, when you held her wrists, what did she say? Okay, I would always use the words they would give me. So never in that interview did I say the word rape or that you violated her. I used his words because it made him more comfortable to say more. I reflected back. It's called reflecting language. And it's something you can use with anybody because it makes people feel a little bit more that you're in harmony with them. So when you speak to me, I'll reflect language you use back to show you I'm listening to you. And admissions are powerful. Everyone's always look for the confession and whatever somebody does to you. I want him to tell me he did this or she did that or they stole that money or they cheated on me. You don't need that. You need the admissions to put a picture together. You don't need to be right, and they don't even need to know that you know. It's for you to know so that you can make sound decisions for yourself.
Yeah, because you're right. A lot of times people these days will say, I need them to fully admit it. I need to get through this and I'll be fully healed when they say this.
You will never be,
right?
You will not be fully healed because there's no such thing as being fully healed. You recover and you become resilient and you bounce back. I believe in that. And you can take what's happened to you. But if you're looking to heal, by the time you heal, if you're even able to, like the next slap in the face is going to come and then the next slap in the face. So you're spending your whole life healing. It's just going to be, life is a revolving door of just people that are going to come in your life. And some of them are going to be knuckleheads. And they're just going to like hit you and crush you, knock you down. And you just have to become resilient and push back. So I think people also, this whole heal thing, it's not fair to people because I also know a lot of people that think something's wrong with me because I can't fully heal from what happened to me. And sometimes the stories are so egregious where I'm like, how could you ever fully heal from that? I appreciate the obstacles that I've gone through. I'm not saying they don't hurt, but all I'm saying is it's not fair to tell people fully heal and then people feel inadequate because they can't fully heal. You don't need to heal to be resilient. Those two things are not the same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, you have been through some serious things. I mean, you were on scene at 9/11 by the World Trade Centers, as far as I read online. And, not only were you there and chose to run towards explosions, but it kind of was happening all around you. So many people could have been through something like that and said, I'm a victim and this is what happened to me. And I could remember all that. And still you chose not to do that.
Here's the thing. When you relive a bad experience or even a bad fight or bad anything, it's rumination, right? And again, I'm going to go back to my psychology teaching as an adjunct. When you ruminate over something, you notice how sometimes it can be addicting.
Yeah.
It actually gives you the same high. It actually activates the same part of the brain that gets activated when you do coke. And it almost creates, it activates that part of the brain. And so for folks to hear that, it's like, no, like that's why you kind of get almost like sort of addicted to like playing this record. And if you seek therapy, there's nothing wrong with it. There's some people that really genuinely need it. I always tell people, go find somebody who's helping you move forward, not retell your pain. I actually had dinner the other night with a woman, and she had been years ago here in New York City. There was a Long Island Railroad shooting, and there was a gunman who opened fire on people on the Long Island Railroad. It was many, many years ago. And she and I were talking because I used to intern for a woman named Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy. And McCarthy's husband was on that train. He was killed. Her son was shot and he was paralyzed. Wow. And the woman I happened to be having dinner with, unbeknownst to me, it was a group dinner, says, I know Carolyn. And I said, how do you know her? She's like, because I was on that train. I was shot twice. Wow. And I said, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're okay. And we started talking. And she used to tell me, every year we had this dinner and get together. And she said, I stopped going. I said, why? She's like, I didn't want to relive it. She's like, it wasn't helping me to relive something horrible that happened to me. She's like, I wanted to let it go.
Rare and so important.
Most founders think they have a traffic problem, so they throw money at ads, more content, more clicks. But the truth is, your site visitors aren't the problem. Your follow-up is. If someone visits your store, adds to cart, then disappears, most platforms just let them leave. OmniSend doesn't. It triggers abandoned cart flows, win-back emails, and even browse abandonment messages all on autopilot. It's not just email, it's email plus SMS with smart segmentation built in. You can trigger a discount code to someone who clicked but didn't buy. You can follow up with a new product after someone made a purchase. You can even A/B test everything to find what actually converts. And you don't need 5 different apps to do it. OmniSend gives you all the tools without the Frankenstein stack. If you're bleeding leads and calling it low conversion, stop. You don't need more eyeballs. You need a machine that closes. That's what OmniSend is.
I think about those moments, like the scary moments in our lives and whether we choose to lean into them or not. You've kind of built an entire career around leaning into them, it seems like to me.
By mistake.
Like I think about you because you were a police woman.
I started in the NYPD as a recruit, yes.
And so you also kind of would sit across the table from criminals and from predators and from what I would anticipate as scary people. What are predators actually like? What are criminals like?
You would think for the most part that these were just like apex predators, or they would look like it, and they didn't. I remember one interview I did. It was a father. He had 3 kids, and there had been, I want to be careful how I say it because it's delicate, but basically child pornography on his devices. And the police needed help understanding what was going on. I interview him. What he ended up doing is he looked like nothing. Like he looked like 160 pounds soaking wet, maybe lighter. I thought, I was like, I could take you. And I'm, But when he walked into the room, I was always surprised to see would walk in the room. And like what he used to do, which was clever, which a lot of them do, he used his kids to get them to bring other kids to their home. And they would go downstairs in the basement and he would shoot videos with all these little kids. And so you would think when I tell you that, you're waiting for this like apex predator to walk in that looks it. You would never pick him out. In fact, he looked like somebody who would be bullied. And that's why I always caution people, like bad people. And I always be careful with that word. Like it's not about what people look like. You don't know what's inside someone. We had this saying in the polygraph, in the interview room, like anybody is capable of anything at any given moment in time if given the opportunity.
Wow.
So the way to protect yourself without being cynical, it's not about being cynical, is assess people's behavior. That's why you can't look at someone. I always say don't label the person like labels are for clothing. Label the behavior. And like be quiet and give people time to see what they're about. Yeah. And they will reveal it. But people who prey don't look like prey. And you know what's also interesting, what I learned about predators, do you know who they prey on? Kids, number 1, because they're easy to prey on. Women, number 2, because as much as I may not want to say it, but it's just the truth, physically, biologically, like we are, in a sense, the other gender, male gender, is just physically stronger than us. So they can, to some degree, overpower us. Depends, not everybody, but for the most part. So there's that physical thing there. And then the elderly. 3 populations that are preyed upon the most by predators. So if I tell you that, then what does that tell you about a predator?
They're pretty weak.
Exactly. I'm not picking on the guy that's going to give me a run for my money. I want easy prey. So a big part of it is your mindset. Like if people think, and this is for anybody, it's like if people feel like you got a little bit of crazy, they're going to think twice.
That's so true.
I'm sorry. It's true. You want people to be like, I'm not telling you to go around being crazy person.
I listen to Evie.
but you just want people to feel, I don't want to cross a line with her. Or with him or whoever. Just let them feel it. And that has to do with respect. It has to do with the way you carry yourself. It has to do with what you emanate out there.
Yeah, I want to get into that because you have really specific actions on that you do. And
I thought you were going to teach me about business.
Well, I was going to
Cody.
say it does apply to business too, because there are business predators everywhere.
Yes.
And they also go after the people that look like they're going to fold, and I think there's a lot of reasons why, if you're pretty serious in business, there's a great reason to like never settle a case. If somebody comes after you and you think that it's ridiculous and they're just trying to be litigious, it's like, no, I will go and spend much more than it would ever take to settle with you because I refuse to allow this precedent to happen. And I think in business, you have to kind of show that you're really not to be trifled with and that you're not scared of coming out against somebody, because bullies exist in business like everywhere else. In fact, maybe more because a lot of people think that business is a zero-sum game. And in order for me to win, you have to lose. And so those people can be a whole different type of predator. And if you come out and to be fair, it happens a little bit more to women, I think, than men, because they don't, a lot of times I have a couple guys who are very public and big public figures too. And, the things that come after them are slightly less than they do me. And so I have had to, in some ways, come out and really sort of establish myself and say, like, I'm not going to tolerate that. You're using my IP. That's infringement. That's libel. This is your chance to have a lawsuit. I don't care if you post it online about it. It's no problem. And so it's unemotional, but it's like, you know, I think I've gotten comfortable enough with it by this idea of like some form of, not that they're bad people, but just justice in the instance. Like if I can handle going after somebody that is operating in a bad manner or in bad faith, and I have enough money and I have enough like capacity to deal with it, but I don't, just because I don't want to, then they are going to go after the next version of the child, the elderly, the woman. They're going to go after somebody who's like an easier target next. And so I do think, like as a good business person, you have like some responsibility to be like, no, I'm going to bury you if you act like that, because we don't allow that in society. There are like repercussions to negative actions. And that's like why we have the society we have. But the part that I was curious about for you is I read somewhere about a study that talked about the way that predators choose their prey. And I thought it was so applicable for probably how business predators prey too. Do you remember that study about?
Yeah, there's multiple studies, but
Okay.
essentially like anybody who picks prey or even targets, they look at the person, they look who can go easy, they look for opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give them a suitable target, I have to have a suitable target to prey.
Yeah.
If I don't have a suitable target, I'm not going to take it. So you want to think about that. Like, am I giving you a suitable target?
Mm-hmm.
So I can negotiate with you, but in the back of my mind, I'm not a suitable target. So I want to make sure that person feels I'm not a suitable target. And I'm with you. I don't really go after, I'm busy, right? I got things going on.
Yeah.
But there may have been like a couple of times where somebody may have crossed into my lane where I'm like, no, that's wrong on principle. And I'm going to make sure you know it.
Yeah.
And so even in business, and I agree with you because it's like, no, a hard no. You think you can't do this and think twice. People afraid, when they think you're not going to bite back, it's a lot of times we think like, if I just mitigate and just leave it alone, I can control the monster or I can control this person. No, like when you know somebody is like not good, the more you pull back, the more dominant they become. You create more space for them to fill.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's strategy in avoiding conflict. But when you create dynamics where you give this person so much space to kind of dominate over you, and then you have to be careful because it can happen incrementally and over time, and then you're in this really subservient role, and you're thinking, how did I get here? And now you can't get out from under it. And business is like that. Just because there are the behaviors that people may have in crime doesn't mean I have to be a criminal to hurt and prey on people.
Yeah.
I can manifest that in business. It's a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's a power trip, like serial killers or serial rapists or people that do that stuff. It's a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
They do it because I want power over you. So in business, I hear it all the time when I speak at companies, when they bring me in. I can't tell you, especially afterward, people will come to me and say, I have this boss, or I have this client, or I have this, and they're being bullied. Yeah. How do I handle it? Tell me what to do. And a big part of the issue that they have is you've created a system around you where you're waiting for these folks to not behave this way because they shouldn't behave this way because you think it's wrong. And I get you think it's wrong, but they don't think that they're wrong. They think, what? I'm being like a boss. I'm being this. I'm being like, this is the way it's done. Change the dynamic and system around you so that people aren't crossing over into you. But it becomes hard. It's a hard thing to undo. Like if you're in a business environment, you've been there for years and people have just been crushing you and dominating you. I don't mean to be negative, but there's almost no way to fix that. You have to leave and go somewhere else and start anew and start from the beginning. Because once you set the tone for people on how to treat you, it's done. It's so done.
That's fascinating. So let's say that person who has been sort of beat up and dominated at work goes to a new place and it's their first day and it's in their first meeting in the business. How do they show up like physically and verbally so that people take them more seriously and like put a little respect on their name?
Don't talk a lot in that first meeting. Say nothing. Half the meetings I go to, I say nothing. You don't need to talk. Nobody cares. Like, unless you have something of value to say, you don't need to say anything. Hi, I'm Evie. Thank you for having me here. I'm done. So unless you're contributing, don't talk. Show up. Be serious. Dark colors. I'm not being funny. Just wear dark colors. Wear a suit jacket. If they're not, I did something with my husband because he just retired from the Secret Service and Homeland Security. We were doing an event where he was I'm like, come speak with me. He's like, oh, okay. And everybody there at this event was dressed down. And he's like, oh, I don't need to dress up. I said, no, you're going to wear a suit. And I don't point at him when I do this. I'm like, no, I want you to wear a suit. And no one's seen you before. And you're going to be on that stage and I want you to own it. And the fact that you chose to wear a suit shows everybody I respect you and honor you. And I showed up in a suit when everybody else is dressed down. It also says something very powerful about you. And sure enough, afterward, he's like, you were so right to make me wear that suit. So I just want you to think, what presence do I bring? And what am I trying to emanate? Dark colors. And for ladies, I'm sorry, drop the pinks, drop the yellows, I like light colors, but what message am I trying to bring? You know, the day you're showing up is not the day to try that new blue eyeshadow. I want to be honest with people, because when you show up authentically you, and then you're scratching your head, why didn't anyone respect me? It's bring that version of you. When I was an agent, I hardly ever wore my hair down. Hardly ever. Now I
noticed that about you in videos. A lot of times it's up.
Always. And I'm used to it, but even as an agent, I wanted to be taken more seriously. I had really long blonde hair. There was no way I was going to cut it. I already really took on very masculine attributes to it, an extent. So I was like, the hair I'm keeping. You know, when other girls were cutting it off, I'm like, no way the hair is staying. So I wanted to hold on to that part of my femininity. I don't want to lose it, but it was always up. Because if I showed up like this for an interview, like, hey, how's it going? Right? You have to just think of what version you're bringing. If I'm doing, like, even to this day, if you're in a room with all male, I'm going to wear pants. Just little things you can do. I'm going to show up. I'm going to sit at the table. My hands are going to be on the table. I'm not going to sit on my hands like I'm 5.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna be here. I'm not gonna have my phone on the table. I don't care if everybody else is on their phone. I'm here. I'm alert. You're also telling people I'm alert. I'm watching everything that's going on around me. Forget the whole get off your phone because it's not good for you, because it's not. Put that aside. I'm here. I see you and I see you and I see you. My head's on a swivel. I know what's going on. I'm paying attention. You just set the tone. This lady knows what's going on around her, or guy.
It's a really good point, because you're also very pretty. And I think—
Thank you, Cody.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, when I was younger and starting out, I did the cut my hair thing, which is a terrible mistake for me, but wasn't a good look. But I cut it really short because I thought that I wouldn't be taken seriously. I was kind of cute, you know, whatever, little Latina. And I did get taken more seriously because of that, because immediately, whether we want to admit it or not, good looking, and I like makeup, you like makeup, and our hair looks nice, and we wear a certain thing, there's an immediate trigger and judgment. And then at some point you get to become enough of a pro that you almost have to go the opposite way. Like, I don't know if you've ever found this, but I now find that I dress a little bit more feminine now than I ever have before, because I come in like a fucking freight train half the time on the internet, and it's intimidating. It's not relatable. And so I'm almost opposite that.
Well, the thing with social media and the internet, people know who you are now before they actually meet you. Yeah. So they already have an impression of you. And that's where people also need to be careful. The first time they meet you nowadays, is not in person. It's on the internet. So watch what you post.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just watch what you post, watch what you share. But I do agree with you. So you have that ability now, because you've built yourself to that point, to show up a little more how you want to show up. When I first started doing the news, you brought up to bring up the hair thing again. One of the things I was told was to cut my hair, because so I could be taken a little bit more seriously when I did the news. And there was a window where I did it, not too much. I did it a little bit. Then I started pulling it back. And then I just was like, you know, I gave up so much I don't want to say it, but as a woman, I let go of so many things when I was an agent. And like my hair thing is just a psychological thing where I'm like, I'm not losing the hair. I'm not losing the makeup. Yeah. I remember one day I was at the White House and we were in what they call the down room. And it was like the morning shift where you start at 5 a.m. I would wake up at 3 a.m., I'd pull my hair back, but I'd wear a nice suit, I'd do my makeup, and I still wanted to hold on to a part of me. And I remember one day, one other female agent walked in that morning. It was like 5, 6 a.m. I can't remember. She's like, why do you bother? She's like, why do you do that? Like, why do you bother? I remember looking at her. I'm like, well, I bother for me. And if I can't look my best in the White House, where am I going to look my best?
That's so true. You're like, there's one spot.
And I just didn't want to fall into that space because I would see a lot of females fall into that, where you don't have to sacrifice. I don't have to talk like a guy or act like a guy or be a guy to be respected. There's a balance. And so I held on to that part for me. So I'm not going to shop at Joseph A. Banks. Sorry, Joseph A. Banks. For my suit, because I want to fit in.
Yeah, you got to draw a line somewhere. But I do think like the more you're a pro, the more you get to draw that line. So if you feel like you can't be authentically yourself to come to a job yet, and that is somehow important to you, that you can wear whatever you want, do whatever you want, get better, because the better you are, the more you get away with.
Well, bring your authentic business self.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Bring your authentic business self to the job. That's it. It's bring the version of you that resonates at that job, not the version of you that goes clubbing or to the bars or hanging out or to Coachella. Like that version of you, although it's authentic, it doesn't go there. Even sometimes my people that work with me or for me, if I have an event, I will, if I know that they don't wear suits a lot or they dress a certain way, I'm like, we're going here, I want a suit.
Yeah.
And they know me, I'm like, it's not that I'm not loving who you are, but we need to adapt to this environment that we're going to, and you're going to bring that version of you.
It's actually a gift to say that to some people when they're younger, because, if you want to get paid like a pro, you should dress like a pro. And thankfully, we both learned that because of your background. I was in finance and investment banking. Like, it just wasn't an option. You wore a suit. That's just what happened. But I think a lot of younger people these days, that's just, the world's changed so much. I mean, I'm not that old, but I had to wear pantyhose. I bet you had to wear stuff like that too. Like pantyhose if I wore a skirt. And now, like I was in my office the other day and there were like two people with like 6-inch crop tops, like belly buttons showing. And I was like, not today. Not today. Like, listen, we have people come in the office. You got a great looking 6-pack, but like, it's not for here. It's just not appropriate. Like, unless you want my husband coming in a, crop top, and nobody wants to see that hairy, like it's not necessary.
But it's also, here's the thing, it's also an extension of you, Codie.
Yeah.
So if I hire you and you work for me, you're an extension of me, of my brand, of who I am, my ethos. Like you are by proximity tied to me. And so I want the version of you that works best with the brand and culture that I'm trying to create. And if it's not that, then I appreciate your authenticity, but that's not, when you do that, you make it about yourself. So what you're also saying is, I'm not a team player. I just care about me, and I dress for me, and I do me, and whoever likes me. And again, you can do that, but you will be isolating yourself from opportunities and from people wanting to bring you in. Like, you want to be adaptable. You know what the key to being powerful in life is? And survival? Be adaptable. I can adapt. You throw me anywhere, I will adapt. I will morph. I will blend. I will do. It's still the genuine part of me, but I'm adapting. When I went to Coachella, I looked like I was supposed to be in Coachella when I was in the Secret Service. When I went to...
You went to Coachella with the Secret Service?
I went when I was protecting Barbara Bush, which is George Bush's daughter. So I was her assistant detail leader. So I was the person who traveled with her, and I had a team. And so with her, the big thing was, because people didn't recognize her. When she was with Jenna, they were together. They knew the Bush twins. But when she was alone, you couldn't really tell. So to not draw attention to her, we would blend in. So if I'm going to Coachella, I'm not going to show up in my sunglasses and a suit, because right then and there, I'm drawing attention to her. Yep. So I would dress in a way where I was still tactically sound, but I blended in the environment for safety reasons.
That's fascinating. I'm just trying to picture a bunch of Secret Service
We were at
agents
Coachella. And you know what's wild? I think we saw Taylor Swift, and I had no idea who Taylor Swift was. She's like, oh, we're going to go see Taylor Swift. I said, who? She's like, what do you, who? I was like, who's that? She's like, you don't know who that is?
We got to find this picture of like all the hot Secret Service agents at Coachella in outfits.
We were backstage. I had no idea who Miss Swift was. And apparently my protectee was good friends with her. And so, but still I'm like, wait, we got to be careful. She's like, it's Taylor. I'm like, I don't care. I don't know the people around this person.
You start frisking Taylor Swift. That would have been good.
So, actually I've magged quite a few celebrities. I didn't.
What does mag mean?
Magged. So I would run magnetometers over them.
Oh, like a
and
a
I
metal
would search
detector.
them. Yeah, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I don't know who you are. And just because you're somebody out there, it doesn't mean that you're not capable. I mean, you would have people. Yeah, I would come across all sorts of stuff. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and, at the end of the day, only downside for you. Like, who cares if you have to frisk them?
I did my job. I don't, my goal was to protect, and it's probably the most powerful person in the world or the people around them. And so I was very thorough.
Yeah. God, it must
Nicely
be so
thorough.
annoying how many questions you get asked about this, because I am restraining myself. But do people just ask you the weirdest things about your time in the Secret Service?
They do. When I was an agent, I would lie to people. I never told people what I did. I didn't want to ask questions.
What was your go-to?
I would go to was a hairdresser. And the reason was because my mother was a hairdresser. So I grew up around it.
So you could talk the talk.
I knew what it was. I helped her in the salon. Like, I would sweep the hair from the floor. She actually had me shampooing people when I got older. I literally helped. And so I knew how to address people when they ask questions. And when I said that, oh, okay.
Just went away.
Yeah. And nowadays I answer like to a point, probably like your husband, right? Like
Totally.
It's hard. You want to share things. And then there's a part of you that there's a humility to it where you don't want to put it out there like that. Like, I share to help. And even if I share stories, I always think I'm not sharing a story to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
If I share a story, I want to make sure that the reason I share this story is adding value, or there's a lesson or something I'm trying to share that helps the other person, that I'm not just sharing it to share.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the worst one he gets asked is like, how many people have you killed?
Oh my God, I knew you were going to say that.
Jesus
How
Christ.
many people have you
Yeah,
killed?
it's happened in front of me a few times. The first time I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I never,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would never ask that. It's almost like asking an even worse version of body count, Like, hey, what's up? How are you? How many people have you slept with? You're like, what? Why would you ever ask somebody
Because
that?
stuff like that's glorified. If you watch
Yeah.
video games, media stuff, it seems like it's not a thing, and it's a horrible. Like, I've been asked that.
Really?
Quite a few times. Like, who have you killed? Have you killed? Probably not to the extent he has. And I'm like,
What do you respond?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just like it's just a dumb question. Like, I don't mean to call people. It's just a really insensitive thing. Now, I've not been to the theater of war, so I have nowhere near like that type of exposure experience.
Yeah.
But that's like, to take a human life is like it's just like a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I mean, people are nuts and will ask all sorts of wild questions. But I do think your change of like, thank God there are people today that are willing to share some of the experiences that they feel comfortable putting forward, because then we get to learn. We get to learn from your experience.
Yeah.
And when Chris talks about stuff that he likes to bring up, I get to learn. I learn a ton about leadership from him, But the cool thing, and I bet your husband's the same, like, I'll hear new stories from him all the time because he doesn't bring it up that much. And he'll be like, yeah, that one time with that Afghan warlord. And I'll be like,
No.
I've never heard of this before. What are you talking about? But yeah, he's kind of silent.
I want to say this. The way somebody's really tough or strong, they don't advertise the stuff they've done. The quietest people were the most lethal people.
Mm.
And my husband's like that. Like, he will barely talks about nothing, and like, he could break you like nothing. And so he's done so many things. So I always respect and admire. For anybody, you want to know who's tough? It's the guy or gal that doesn't need to tell you how tough they are. because they just are and they know it.
And they often don't dress like it. Like my husband, if you saw his outfits, I'm like, is this a fourth grader's birthday party? Like, what are we doing today? It's like a tie-dye shirt, corduroy shorts, and like he calls them Jesus sandals.
Because he doesn't care.
He doesn't. He has nothing to prove, that dude.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that thing. Like the better you are, the more things you can get away with and the less you got to project. And so like, if you don't like where you are today, just keep trying to be better. And then I do feel like you get to assert your will on the world a lot more, you know? And like one of the other things that I think is really interesting about you, and then I have another friend who has like, I don't know if I would call it similar background, but Chris Voss, who was in the FBI. And what I always find interesting with Chris is his intonation and how he uses his voice. But I had never met another woman who had done, because I can't mimic Chris Voss. He's got this crazy, you know, baritone voice. Mm-hmm. But you have a lot of lessons that you've learned about like, how do you communicate in order to be respected as a woman? And how does your voice change matter in the way that you respect? I know there's a word for it, but I can't remember what it is.
The term is called paralinguistics. So it's what you sound like when you speak. And it's actually truly for both men and women, because some men have high voices. There's a couple of things. So some people organically have a stronger tone, and men typically have a deeper tone. For women, you just want to find your truest, genuine, deepest tone. You know, hi, I'm Evie. Hi, I'm Evie. So you want to find that tone. And sometimes over the years, you have to think of like your voice, it captures things that you've accumulated over your lifetime. Maybe you were in abusive relationships, or you had parents saying, be a good girl, or don't talk, or don't this, don't that. So our voice captures all that stuff. So your true voice is not your true voice, the one you use. So you want to really think about, what do I sound like? I always tell, and I talk about this a lot with companies when I have people saying, nobody listens to me. And I'll say to them, well, what do you sound like? The majority of communication is not what you say, it's what they hear. So listen to your voice. I was lucky in that when I would conduct interviews, I would have to record myself, so I would hear my voice. And then when I left and I began doing the news, I had to watch myself and hear myself, which is really messes with you. And I even had to step up my game even more. And I actually took voice and speech classes at an acting school. People ask me, what do I do for my voice? And I tell them hands down, go to acting school, take a voice and speech class. One, they'll teach you to use your voice. They teach you to project your voice. And then they put you in front of other people, and you have to take on roles where you have to use energy and do it in front of other people. And it's a great way to build your confidence. But I learned to use my voice, because if I'm talking about an attack or shooting, because I cover national security and law enforcement issues for NBC, I can't sound like this.
No.
You know, I have to strengthen my voice so that the listener can believe that I know what I'm talking about. So think of your tone. The other thing is project out. So when you're speaking, own what you say. I go back to my college students where I'll have them ask, I'll ask a question and I'll say, tell me about blah, 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 blah. And I'll pick on them. And when they answer, and I'm like, I can't hear you. And I will tell them, I'm like, this is the place to make mistakes. Own your voice. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Nobody cares. And so I always try to please project your voice. It's okay. I'm not telling you to, it just means project means just make sure people can hear you. It's very also annoying to the listener. I can't hear you. I don't have time to keep asking you to repeat yourself. Just say it. Let's work together and move on. That's the other part of it, projecting your voice. And then the other thing to think about when you speak is make sure, and this is very dominant today for no matter what gender you are, is, hi, I'm Evie. Hi, I'm here with Codie Sanchez. Hi, I'm Evie. I'm here with Codie Sanchez. I said the same thing, but I'm speaking different. So you always want to go down when you speak. Those are very simple things to do for your voice.
How many people do you think sound on the uptick typically? Like
a lot.
Is that a majority? Like people do not even realize that they sound that way.
No, I think most people speak like that because I think it's a generational thing. I think it's just what's dominant in the culture right now. So what I hear, I absorb. My husband sometimes will do it sarcastically in front of our little one. And I tell him, I'm like, please don't do that. I don't even want her mistakenly to start speaking like that. So it does happen, and you'll hear men and women do this. So just things to be conscious of when you speak. So if people don't listen to you, or if you share an idea, this is another thing I hear in business meetings. I shared this idea and then nobody paid attention, and then somebody else said it and everyone paid attention to this person. And my first thing is, what did you sound like when you shared that idea? Did you sprinkled it out there like very lightly, and then this person took it and they owned it?
Yeah. The other part too is really pondering what you're going to say first. What I find a lot that happens with people who aren't listened to is they talk a lot, to your point. They're unstructured in their thoughts. I haven't been as thoughtful about tone, so I'll have to think about
Yours
that.
is fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
Good, thanks. But they have this wide-ranging concept that they want to have that could have been distilled into 3 sentences. And so that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is like, before you come up with your idea, can we make it real brief? Hey, I think that we should start a podcast, and I think that we should have a former Secret Service member on it. What do you think about that? Who should we choose? As opposed to like, yesterday I was thinking about the fact that we might want to have a podcast with somebody from the Secret Service because like they're super in the news right now, and maybe what we would do, and you're like, fucking, that's too much. I'm already bored. And so
land the plane.
Yeah, land the plane.
There's actually there's science that shows the more verbose you are, the more words you use when you speak, the less credible you appear. So when you can get to your point with less words, you actually appear more credible.
So do a lot of companies hire you then to teach their teams how to do this too?
No, I don't do it. I could, I suppose, but I'll do keynotes.
Yeah.
So I get asked to go to big companies and I'll give a keynote. I don't have between like doing the news and all the different things I do. Yeah. You could do training, I suppose. Like I do get asked, yes. I get asked, okay, can you come train our people? And maybe business-wise, Cody, you could give me some guidance.
Just
maybe
add
I'll launch that
to
way.
Your keynote, you know?
I can learn how to do that because I work with a lot of agents too who you had to master it. A lot of people don't realize like we were liaisons more so than anything. So I was a liaison for the US government. So when I would go overseas, I would have to bring my best negotiating skills and speaking skills to deal with foreign governments, which often didn't like you, but you had to really monitor how you spoke. I mean, you were a diplomat. And so you would have to be able to deal with conflict, debate, disagree, and speak well without causing problems where the White House is getting a call and like this agent Pompers you sent, she's a disaster. Don't send me somebody else. Like you didn't want that phone call coming in because you were a hothead or inconsistent or not reliable or didn't speak well and couldn't negotiate well. Like you were representing the US government when you would travel. So one thing in the US Secret Service, because I've probably dealt with maybe a third of the foreign countries in the world. And so it's a big weight because if you say or do the wrong thing, you could really hinder international relations. Even though you're looking at it, well, you're coming from a security standpoint. No, I'm representing the US government. So to them, I'm like, I might as well just be hanging out in the White House all day with the president, hanging out like his best buddy because I represent him and the country. The other thing too is we would have to negotiate and deal a lot with staff, whether it was White House staff, whether it was other congressional staff. And again, your appearance and demeanor matters. You can't just come in like a thug and bully your way, strong your way in. Like you have to really bring a very professional, respectful self. And sometimes you would be dealing with very special personalities and you had to be very mindful. I never wanted, and to this day, I don't want to give anybody a reason to say she said this and because she did this or she said that, she's unprofessional. It's like I never wanted to give anybody that gift.
it also is like a power play, I imagine, a lot of these negotiations, because yes, it's about security, but it's, oh no, I want the president to come through this way so that all my people can see him. And I want this to happen over here. And actually my flag should be here and his flag should be there. And I imagine all of that is a negotiation where not only do you have to quote unquote win, because you do need to have X happen in order to keep security, but also you can't make them mad. So you have like two bosses there, which is...
You can't offend them. You can't make them mad. Like there was a really difficult line to cross. You can't be hot-headed. You know, sometimes it's as simple as I was at one event in one country. They wanted to have a meeting with the president. And this country shows up to where I'm at. And I'm like, I'm not the decider, you know, but you can't go in. So I call White House staff over and I'm like, hey, this country's here. I'm not going to say what country. Trying to find the right word, very intense country in behavior. Every country had their behavior. And I'm like, come here. They want to meet with the president. Come talk to them. So they send this White House staffer who's a very nice, super nice person, but comes in a little bit mouse, like very soft. And they literally, the delegates encircled this White House staff member. And the White House staff member was trying very nicely to say, there's no time for him to meet with you today. We can try. And they were very offended by it. How could your president not make time for our president? And it started to turn into like, I'm like, they're going to just devour this guy. And I had to step in and say, hey, you know, why don't we calm down and we'll find a resolution, you know? And then it turned on me and I was just like, oh, no. Oh, no. You know, and I told the White House staffer, leave and go come back with 5.
Yeah.
But you have to bring strength as well. So that's a really good example of when this White House staffer showed up, all good intention, came very nice. And you can't show up very nice with this country. This is a country that'll eat you alive. So you want to bring your professionalism, you want to be respectful, but you want to bring that essence like, hey, why don't you calm down? You don't need to say it, but you exude that strength because then people won't cross that line.
Is much of the negotiation that you learned in that job and others like pre-preparation? Like almost really, it seems like a lot of the moves you make, X situation happens. You don't just really react. You kind of have to take a minute, think about what's the context, who am I combating in some situation, and then what's my prep that needs to be done. Like is most of negotiation won and communication won in the pre-preparation, not the actual like activation? I mean, even your like, okay, we're going to go in, you're primary, and I'm going to like slide back thing.
Roll back.
Roll back, right. These all seem very, like you're spending a lot of time prepping for almost everything that you're doing. Is that right?
It depends. The more you prep, the better prepared you are, the more confident you are. So over time, you do less prep because you know what to do.
Yep.
But anytime, if you're talking interviews, if I did an interview with a partner, we never walked in cold. We sat down, we went through our questions. What are we going to say? Who's going to be primary? Who's going to be secondary? What do we think we should ask? How do you think this? We always plan that out. There's something also called predictable dialogue, which means you may go in to do a business pitch. And there's different ways it could go. The one could be like, great, I love this. Or I want more information. Or are you joking? Whose idea is this? This is the dumbest thing I ever heard. So predictable dialogue would be, I would prepare dialogue for whichever direction that person went. So I was prepared for whatever direction you went. So if you do a business pitch, for example, you don't want to be shocked when they push back and say, I think that this isn't a good idea. Well, how about this or this and that? You come in prepared. And so also you're not like, it doesn't feel like a punch in the face when they call you out on something or they push back. So that's predictable dialogue. I will predict the dialogue you're going to have with me so I could have the response to that dialogue. I'm prepared. The other thing to do, which is really important in business, and that we would do is rehearse your opening line. So don't go in and wing it. Please don't go in and wing it. Rehearse your opening line. And your opening line should differ for each pitch you're doing, depends who it is. Is it a CEO, a CFO? Is it just a lateral employee? You adapt how your opening line is for the entity you have. And then also, what is their disposition? Are they very strong? So you bring a little bit more strength. Are they a little bit softer, more shy? You bring it down. You want to adapt. It's always adaptability. Who do I have? I adapt. That's why that whole authentic thing that you talked about before, it does not work to your advantage. I want you to be an adapter. Who would I have? I'm going to meet you. What we try to do and what society tells you to do is make them come to you. Yeah, You're right. So special that you make everybody bend to you. You make them, how insecure am I that I need to make everybody come to me? Mm-hmm. No. I see who you are. I just read you. I understand you. I see what your values are because I've shut the fuck up and I'm listening and I read you well. And now I'm going to adapt to you and I'm going to meet you where you are.
So much more powerful. I mean, you don't get mad at a chameleon when it changes its color. You're not like, well, chameleons are always green. I'm green. That's authentic. You're like, no, the chameleon's kind of a badass because no matter what's going on, the chameleon can blend right in. Nobody can even tell it's there. And I think that's the same thing you're talking about in business and in life. It's like, have the ability to still be you. The chameleon's still there, but it's able to actually blend into an environment. And man, if you could do that paired with preparation, like I think there's something about, and all of this is actually preparation because you're just being quiet and learning before you talk, even just in an instance. But really deep preparation that is personalized is so hard to push back on. It's so sexy. I mean, it's like when somebody else feels like they actually know you, when something is prepared perfectly for you, it's so rare today that I feel like it is a superpower. And so like if somebody comes and meets with me and they want a job, and they slide across the table a presentation of like, here's everything that's going on at your company. Here's all the stuff that I think you guys are doing wrong. Here's the stuff I think you're doing right. I could be wrong on all of this. I just want you to know I'm kind of obsessed with your mission. And I think what you're doing is really special. And so here's sort of how I think I could assist. I'd be like, let's sit and talk because that never happens. You know, they come in and expect you to ask the questions about them. And so it's really interesting. I had never thought about it from your lens before.
Well, it's funny you say that. So one woman who works with me now, Stormy, and I never intended to hire her, ever. I wasn't even looking for her. She showed up one day. I just met her through some circumstance, and she showed up one day. She's like, I know who you are. She's like, and she came to talk to me about something else, but on the side, she's like, I just want to give this to you. And she put a whole presentation to me, a whole presentation of something that I didn't know I even needed. It was my stats, how searchable my name was, who followed, all these things that I never thought to ever consider. She showed up, this whole PowerPoint presentation. And I was like, huh. And I was like, let's talk. And from let's talk a little bit more to talk a little bit more to now she works with me full time. Yeah. Because she did that.
Yeah, it's sexy. And, you know, you don't actually have to be smarter than anybody else. You don't have to be more knowledgeable and experienced. You can't be an idiot and you can't have no knowledge. But like that little ounce of preparation. But what's crazy is I'm sure we'll post this. And what often happens is it finds another side of the internet and people get mad at what they call free work.
What is that?
Like, why would I do all that work for an interview when I don't have the job and nobody's paying me? You can't expect that of me. And then I think of like the stories that you've told about what it took to even try out for the Secret Service. Like you weren't like, you need to pay me for tryouts, right? And you were getting up at like 3 a.m. and go. I mean, what did you have to go through to become a Secret Service agent?
Before I tell you that, I worked for, this woman came up before, Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy. I was in college. And it came out like they're looking for an intern. So I'm like, bah. I didn't even dawn on me as a congresswoman, like how hard can it be? I was like, wow, if they like me, they like me. I was very like that. I show up, I do an interview, I get the internship for free.
Yep.
So you might argue it's an internship for free. It's a couple of months. And it was a couple of months. My internship finishes. And I asked them, I'm like, I'd like to stay on. And they said, well, we have to open it up to be fair to other people. And we can't hire you. I'm like, well, I don't want to get paid. I'm like, what if you have 2 interns and I stay on and I keep working for free? And I had their cases, their constituent cases. And they liked me. They said, sure. I stayed on for almost 2 years and I worked for free. So you might look at that and be like, well, that's a complete waste of time. You already did the internship. Why do you need it? Well, when the hiring process came for the U.S. Secret Service, I needed 3 reference letters. And who do you think wrote me a stellar reference letter? Carolyn McCarthy. And I, to this day, think that that played a major role in my application getting pushed forward, that I had a congresswoman write me that reference letter. But I worked for her for 2 years for free. Even with the job, like NYPD, when I went in, I think it was $27,900 my salary, which meant my check was like $400 every 2 weeks after taxes. I had no idea. The first time the check comes, I get the check, and I was in the academy because they started paying us in the academy, and I was like, this can't be right. I was like, there's no way this is right. $400, 2 weeks. I was like, so I go to the sergeant. I'm like, sir, can I? I'm a cadet. I'm like, sir, can I show you something? And he's like, what do you want, recruit? I was like, I don't think this is right. He's like, it's right. He didn't even look at it. It's right. It's right. Go away, recruit. Go away. Because you're not really supposed to talk to them. You call them the white shirts. You're not supposed to talk to them. I'm like, but sir, this can't be right. $400, 2 weeks. I'm like, this is crazy. And like, finally, I'm like, but sir, please. And he looks over. He's like, it's right, recruit. Go away. I was like, $400 for 2 weeks. I was like, how do you live? But I stuck it out. I didn't come from wealth. I didn't come from money. And I saw my family struggle quite a bit. I lived in government housing, which was like government subsidized housing, which is not great in New York City. No. But I think if you put effort and meaning, the wealth will come. But if you look at the dollar amount from the get-go, you're in trouble. Yeah. In fact, any student that I have that comes to me, because some of my students like know who I was and what I did, and they'll be like, Professor, what does the Secret Service agent make? And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, that job's not for you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I remember when I was with Chris, and he was still in the military, he was in the teams, and I was kind of already successful in business, and I was going to leave my firm at the time. And I was kind of fighting with one of the other partners, and so I was frustrated, and I'm like, I don't know, do I start a new business? Do I get another job? Like, what am I going to do? And he's like, leans over, gives me his hand, and he's like, babe, he's like, I got us. He's like, I'll pay for everything. I was like, dude, you don't know how expensive I am. But that is so fucking cute. And
I'm laughing because it's a government military salary.
I know. Oh, yeah. I mean, he did not make a lot of money. And also in California, it's expensive there overall. I'm expensive. But he never cared. Like, he has never chased money. Man does not care. I mean, I think he likes some nice stuff now, but back then then also I think that's really cool. Like, a lot of women ask me, like, how do you find a great partner? I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I found one. He's awesome. I don't have any more reps at it than that. But I do think it's really helpful if you're kind of like I chase business and money and meaning that way. I always have. I like the game of business, but he doesn't. And I love that partnership, because when he doesn't, and I do, it means we're not playing the exact same game. So we're not competing with another, which really helps. Okay, I want to end with you. Are you writing another book? Because your last book was a massive bestseller. I'm about halfway through it right now. And it feels to me like Never Splitting the Difference with Chris Voss was one of those books that I come back to continuously. And your book, I didn't realize how much regarding mindset and like, you say it in a very strong way. It's not this like woo-woo manifesting mindset bullshit. And so are you going to write another one?
I'm working on my second one now. Yes. And it's going to be, right, we're working on the title, but 100 Rules of Engagement. And it's just so things to help people navigate and guide their situation. And I never thought I'd be like giving advice to people. Like, I actually, again, we're talking off camera. I left the U.S. Secret Service to go into news. I was just going to do news. I was going to be that person to say, hi, we had a shooting. Hi, we had this. Let me break it down for you. Let me do the assessment. I never thought I'd be on stage. I never wanted to. And I just stumbled into it. And when it came to a book, when I had been approached for books in the past, it was all tell-all.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't. I was like, I'm not doing that. So a book in my head was really not on the forefront. And then a great literary agent came to me who was like, we want to do books that make the world a better, more just, wiser place. And I said, I'll do a book with you. And so when I wrote Becoming Bulletproof, I mean, I put a lot into it, and everything was about the reader. How do I help? What did I learn that helped me that can help them? And can it transcend into, the whole point was to help them use these things that I also learn and use, and I saw other great individuals around me use to help them in their life, to negotiate, to read people, to avoid deception, to not get hurt, to recover faster, just all those things. So a lot of time went into Bulletproof. It's like it just got published in It's getting published in Turkey now.
Love that.
And another country, I'm drawing a blank. Slovenia. It's coming out in Slovenia now. So I'm amazed that it's still going, and it's going into these other countries. So I'm humbled by it. So the second book I'm working on again, but again, the meaning is, how does it help other people? And so there's a window of time, which again, by mistake, I began doing mentor sessions because people would write in, Evie, I have this issue. And I was just like, all right, screw it. Let me do some mentor sessions and maybe I can help some people. Because I'm sure you get a lot of messages and DMs and it's a text or a message. Can you give me advice on this? And you're thinking, one, I don't have time, but two, I don't know enough to give you, I can't give you this blanket advice. I need to know the whole thing.
Yep.
So it was around the COVID time, I opened up and started doing some mentor sessions with people in consultations. And that's when I started seeing repetitive patterns that people would fall into, or mistakes they would make, or things they didn't know. And so that's where rules of engagement is coming from. So I'm still in the drafting phase.
What's like one thing that people should look forward to from that book? Like, what are you like, God, people need to know this?
You're not that special, because none of us are. And when you think you're special, your problems and pain and suffering is special, and you can't get through it. And actually, one thing that kept me grounded, even at a young age, when I would do interviews and interrogations, whether it was suspects or victims, or witness, when I would hear what they were exposed to, it made my life like not so bad. My problems not so bad. Like I just was like, who am I to have experienced anything? So that kept me centered and grounded for many, many, many years. But when you think you're really going through it and you're the only one going through it and nobody understands you, that is a horribly isolating place to be. It is going to, the more of an identity person you are, the more you overanalyze yourself and your pain and who screwed you over and how much they screwed you over, the more, the higher your depression is going to be and the higher anxieties you're going to be. And I actually would see that repeatedly when I did consulting or mentors, or even when I get off a stage and I speak. People will come to me, this person did this to me, and they will hold on to it. Like they hold on to it. And it's like, let it go. I'm not telling you to forgive. I am not a forgive person. I will let it go. I'm not letting you in. Oh, no. I learned my lesson the first time. Thank you. Stay all the way over there. But I'm not going to take you and what you did to me and take it with me like the next 7 years down. I'm not going to give you that. And I think one of the things is let it go.
Mm-hmm.
People hold on to the harm and the negativity and whatever somebody did to them, or that boss screwed me, or this guy let me go, or this person dumped me. And it's like, don't. It poisons you.
I can't wait to read this. Evie, thank you so much for being here today. This was so amazing. Hey crew, this is so cool. The podcast is growing like crazy, and it's only actually because of one thing, you. I don't know if you know this, but the only way the Big Deal Pod grows is when you share it with somebody else. We don't do ads, we don't do pay for play, we don't go on other people's podcasts and talk about it. So if you think there was something helpful here, if we made you money, we made you think about your business or life differently, the most beautiful thing you can do for me is share it. And the most beautiful thing you can do for someone that you care about is to share it with them, help them grow alongside you. So please share the pod. That's how we grow. And also tag me on anything you share. I love resharing other builders across Instagram, Twitter, and all other platforms. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're super important to me.